Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, let me just add everyone. Add everyone. Testing out new camera setup.
What camera did you get there? Sony?
Yeah, the what was it called? The A7 III, I think.
Oh, A7 III. Oh, right on. It's the same
Yeah.
one. Well, we used the A7C in the studio,
Hmm.
so it's the
Yeah, I
same.
just bought it a while back actually. The first time I bought it was just like, all right, my old camera, I just needed
Yeah.
something to take pictures of. But then I realized like, okay, I could use this as a video camera.
Yeah. It's well, right now I'm not using it. I'm using a Fuji X-T4, but the studio camera is the same one. Yeah, basically the same thing.
Hmm.
It's super useful for like because the autofocus is really good on those Sonys.
Are
Um,
people coming in? Oh, it's yeah, people are asking what the guest is. Oh,
I
hello, it's me.
wonder if I should change the title now. Surprise
Oh,
special
you're
guests.
gonna
I
take
get
advantage
yeah
of
I get,
my.
of your fame. uh, Perfect. All right, with video. With video. Oh, it's too long. With special guest.
It's too long.
Yeah. Yeah. With a special guest Crinacle with video. All right. Let's see.
All right, casual stream. Let the questions come in. Oh,
I'm gonna make sure that the audio is all good. So let us know how the audio is, guys. See everybody. Uh, if the audio levels are all messed up, then yell and scream in the chat, guys.
yes, tell us how we are horrible people.
Yeah. How can you wear a hoodie with the heat? Obviously, it's different.
Oh, I've AC
Oh man.
in this room. It's a small room, so I can afford to
Yeah.
have like really silent AC.
I,
Hopefully it's silent. I'm not sure if the mic is picking it
no, no,
up.
you're good. But like for me, I've got a fan right there that's trying to. I've
Ah,
basically taken my office space, which is like basically the size of a hallway, and I've turned it into a PC case with AC going in and then an exhaust fan going out to
oh.
try and get some airflow going through because my AC is not good enough. It's not very powerful,
Mm.
and and then also it's too hot for me to turn on my light. I'm definitely not wearing
Wait, your light?
pants.
Oh, your light heats up as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The light gets it real hot. So, um, but yeah. Looks like we got some questions rolling in here. May as well. We may as well get started.
Yeah, pay up, pay up.
No, no. I just so you guys know, I have no way of transferring Corinne any money, so don't bother using the super
Yeah, I
chat.
don't see a single cent, but
Yeah.
headphones.com sponsors my
Oh
website.
yeah, that's
So
right. This is just an inefficient way of transferring money over to you.
yeah. Oh, people say that I'm 20 FPS. Yeah, I'm trying to fix that. This is kind of like a test run. All right, now I know it's 20 FPS.
Wait, is it intentionally 20 FPS?
No, no,
Is it
I
for
don't think so.
cinematic look?
I mean, my webcam is supposed to go all the way up to 50 FPS, but
Yeah. Um, so let's go through some of the initial questions. I see some early ones, but I do want to address Androids. Why does this have to be on when the only IEM I have with me right now is the Gold Planar GL12? Sad.
uh, I finished filming like my unboxing post. I unboxed a lot of IEMs at the same time, and yeah, the GL12. I can understand your pain. It's not great. It's not a great IEM.
They is it reminiscent of the GL 2000s?
No.
Okay.
Okay, have you tried the GL20?
No.
That
The
one's bad,
the
but it's like I signed bad, where its
oh, okay.
tonality is just completely disgusting, but the technical performance is fine.
Right,
And not
right.
actually fine. Actually, it's pretty good. It's
Okay.
just that the GL12 kind of makes the tuning better, but the technical performance is worse.
So the
So it's
trade-off
like
isn't worth it. It isn't worth it.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I've only tried it for like 30 seconds because I heard the tuning and I was just like, nope. Nope.
I had one of those moments recently where I was testing the Audio Technica AWAS and AW the
The awas and the awkward.
yes, the I wasn't
Yeah.
the awkward. Um, and I immediately was just like, nope, no, no, nope.
Wait, let me think. I think the awas was the one that was mildly palatable for me, but
It
the awkward
has,
was the one that was like, no.
yeah, it has. It's funny because for me, the Oct sounded like it had some potential technical performance, or going with the tonal technical dichotomy as one does. But
Hmm.
the tuning for both of them, I was just like, I can't. The Awas has a particularly strong harmonic imbalance in the upper mids, like 4K, I think.
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Audio Technica, so at that point, it's expected.
Mm.
It's just that, the R70X kind of bucks the trend.
Hmm.
But everything else is like, no. Like the 80 series, all of the 80 series are genuinely terrible.
Yeah, I haven't heard that many of them, or not enough of them. So only really the ADX 5000 and well, now these other ones, of course, and so that's why I was a bit surprised because I thought, oh yeah, R70X, good good tuning, you know, and
Hmm.
ADX 5000, okay, yeah, like it's a little bright for me, but like
Yeah,
it's
okay, the ADX 5000 is the one that it's not completely terrible.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if you go any lower than that, that's it.
yeah.
It's no.
um, so okay, let's get into the questions here, I guess. Uh, I know it's not really an apples to apples comparison, but how does the Starfield slash Araya, I'm calling it the Araya, because the Aria is right there.
Disgusting.
Yeah. How does it compare to the 560S in terms of detail? I assume he means the Sennheiser, not
I
Hi-Fi Man.
I will skip that question. I never liked comparing like IEMs and headphones. Yeah. I don't think they're directly comparable because there's a lot of weird like, head related transfer function
Right.
shit going on. So I mean in terms of detail I'll always say that the 560S is always not 560S. Headphones in general are gonna be superior to IEMs. That is usually, because bigger drivers and yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So I have somewhat of a take on it as well for tonal balance, and I think it's that the 560S has a bit more forward lower treble than
Hmm.
those two for tonal balance. But other than that, also you're gonna get better in-head localization with the headphone than those min drop. I don't know. Like maybe I'm the only one who has this opinion, but I found the dynamic driver moon drop IEMs, like the single dynamic driver ones, to be
Hmm.
very strange for their in-head localization. Like the soundstage is like very, I don't know, like more three
In your
blobby
head.
than yeah. Like in
I
my
mean,
head.
I feel that way, but from almost all IEMs.
Yeah.
I'm saying this as the IEM guy. Like again, there's a reason why I say that 80% of all IEMs just sound like in ears, for lack of a better word for it. It
Yeah.
literally just sounds like sound is being blasted into your ears.
Yeah.
It's IEMs. That's a limitation that we all have to work with,
Well,
right?
yeah. There's only so much you can do with like space, right? So with the
Hmm.
space that they have to be in. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's funny because I think the most common one or common comparison that I see is like Blessing 2 versus Hi-Fi Man Sundara.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah. I do hear that comparison a lot as well
I
for
think it's
some
because
reason.
they're around the same price and
Yeah, similarly priced.
people are and they're both
Yeah.
good frequency response. So people are choosing between the IEM, the good value IEM and the good value headphone.
Hmm.
Um,
The reason why I don't like answering because it's all about use case, right?
yeah.
When it comes to IEMs and headphones. So even though I believe, and I really do believe that an open back headphone is going to outperform almost every other IEM, or at least
Has the
within the
potential
same
to,
price
depending
range.
on yeah.
Yeah, let's limit it to within the same price range, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, for someone like me who has the privilege of using speakers at home, I'm only going to use either speakers at home or IEMs outside. There is no place for me. There's no place for an open back headphone for me. So in my case, headphones lo-fi.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody's saying, Marius is saying my mic could use +1 to 2 dB. Let me just do that for you. I just don't want to clip, because like if I go here, then it's really bad. Yeah, I tend to agree. Like I think for people who are just like in that situation where it doesn't matter what the form factor is, I think there's a very obvious answer. You know, and it's over ear open back headphones.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just that if you're talking about like oral superiority, then there is one higher god over the open back headphone.
Yeah.
People tend to ignore that, and say like, oh, you shouldn't use IEMs because a headphone is going to outperform it. Yeah, but what about speakers?
Yeah.
They always forget the next part of the equation. What about speakers?
Yeah, I'm on a mission to find like the best small speakers that are appropriate for a small space.
There is one from iLoud, I think.
iLoud?
Yeah,
That's a great brand
name. Yeah, I know. Every time I try and shill the iLouds to someone, everyone just tells me that's a suspicious sounding brand.
It is, yeah.
But it is genuinely good. Like the iLoud, I think it's called the MTM or something like that, where it's a very, very small speaker setup with genuinely great bass extension, and it's quite flat.
Interesting. Ooh.
Yeah, okay. But don't get hung up over the name, because
it's $1,000.
It is small though.
That's with their studio bundle, I suppose.
It is small.
It does look small. Yeah, it looks interesting. Okay, well, pretty soon it's going to be sold out because we just we're going to crash their website, with the 95 concurrent viewers that we have. Metal 571 says closed back bad. Just use IEM. Crin 2021. I think you've been saying that for a while. I've
said it for a long time. I can't believe that it's a hot take. Because have you guys heard a good closed back headphone? Even a good closed back headphone is like is full of compromises.
Yeah, but I EQ things, so
I mean, if you're gonna EQ things, you might as well just EQ an IEM to sound like a headphone, right? Because clearly that's how things work.
I have a different perspective, and it's not like I don't disagree with the sentiment that there are better tunings plus good technical performance in IEMs across the board, but if you're looking at specifically dynamic driver stuff, I don't know if I think that's the same on the same playing field, because I don't think that dynamic driver IEMs have been fully reached, or they haven't fully reached their maximum potential yet, or they haven't reached the same level that you can get dynamic driver closed back headphones.
I think that's just a function of driver size, right?
Yeah, exactly. But when we're talking about any driver type, then yeah, I agree. Like you can, like with IEMs, like, I don't know of a closed back headphone that I would take over. I mean, that's I guess not true because I haven't heard all of them, but like of the ones that I've tried, I would still probably take a U12T over most. And I don't think that's particularly.
It's with dynamic drivers, you have the problem of tuning, which is the opposite of BA drivers. Because BA drivers is you can tune whatever the hell you want with BA drivers, because they basically act like Lego bricks.
Yeah.
But with a dynamic driver, it's like you have the low distortion component, and you have the timbre characteristics going on for it, but it's just so hard to tune. You have to basically tune it from ground up, from the start of production all the way to the end. And then even at the end of the driver production, you have to worry about housing, you have to worry about nozzle diameter, like chambering. Like people have done things like a Helmholtz resonator on the back vent, et cetera, et cetera. It's too many things to do, and it's not as easy as like a PA driver. So
that's what Tom was telling me as well from Dunu, that because we recently evaluated the Zen Pro, and which, by the way, have you had a chance to try?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think anyone contacted me about that, so I assume that I'm on Dunu's bad books now.
No, I don't know. They're pretty. I don't know. At least from my dealings with them, they've been extremely open to feedback and criticism. But Precog really liked it, the Zen Pro. He actually rated it higher than I did, and we did this like experiment with them, which was awesome, where we had to kind of like give our takes without like confirming with other people who'd heard it. And I was kind of usually Precog is a little more critical than I am about IEMs, but in this case I think he rated it higher than I did. But yeah, what they did is they just slightly changed the tuning a little bit and kind of balanced it out a little bit, in the treble. So be curious as to your thoughts on it, but
we'll see if someone gets a demo unit in, but I don't think I'll be getting one anytime soon. We'll see.
Fair enough. More questions. I got to say thank you to Rob Hawk. He continues to support the channel on a regular basis, which is awesome.
Hey.
I have a very important question here from Albert, and it's, when are we going to have a Resolve plus Crin only cans?
Isn't Only Cans an actual game? I remember seeing an actual video game called Only Cans. Yeah.
Was it about headphones?
No, it's about actual cans, like soda cans. And you take pictures of soda cans very seductively. It's a joke game. It's a joke game. Yeah.
One thing I do not understand is seemingly the industry's fascination with the waifu stuff. Like, for example, the Moondrop stuff. I mean, yeah, sure. So the audience, but it's just something I don't understand.
If you ask anything regarding like waifus or anime or whatever, the answer is always just weebs.
Yeah, probably.
The demographic is large. Some of them hidden, and some of them extremely public.
Well, yeah, we have one on the team, Precog. I assume that's why he likes.
Every time I open his GraphTool page, I just die a little inside.
Yeah, it's quite funny. Yeah,
change your goddamn watermark, okay?
I think we have to send him that Moondrop mouse pad. Let's see, more questions here. Marius asks, Phonitor 2 with HE6 V2 work quite nicely. I like tuning and dynamics better than the HE1000 V1 or LCD X. Yeah, I like the HE6 V2. I thought it was pretty good.
Phonitor 2 with HE6.
I don't know about I haven't tried the Phonitor 2, so. Have you tried the HE6 V2? Sorry, HE6 SE V2, I think that's what he means.
I've tried the HE6 SE at some point.
Yeah, that's very
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's any different from V2. It might. Yeah, I mean, if you say it is, then I'll probably need to search for one.
You know what's weird is on the HE6 SE, the one that I measured the same as yours, and some of the other ones I saw. Then, so like that really weird upper mid range, like massive upper mid range. And then I saw, I think, Amir's measurements of the HE6 SE, not the V2, and it measured like the V2. So there's some weird stuff going on, which is, and the V2 measures a lot more normal. Like the V2 kind of measures like a Sandara, but I mean, still not quite as good as a Sandara, but like pretty close. That more normal kind of tuning. But it makes me think that there's probably a lot of some weird stuff going on there with revisions and pad revisions and drivers. It's stuff that we just don't know. That's not in the like sort of public, side of those.
Like headphones. The Sandaras.
Like the Sandaras, With that,
I will be able to measure a 2020 Sandara in the coming days alongside the HG400 SE.
Oh, okay. With the 2020 Sandara, it's not actually 2020. It's like they did that revision before with the pads, right? But
at some point,
people just called it the 2020 version, and I think maybe I was partially responsible for that. But it's not that different. Like people make a big deal out of it, but like if you already EQ'd the Sandara, it's not like a huge difference. It's just like slightly better, So. I think like there were a lot of folks who were like kind of upset about it because or not upset but like saying no, there is no revision, it's just a difference in measuring technique, coupling and stuff like that, which does also
Probably.
seem to have an effect. But like if you look at the pads side by side, they are different too. So I'd be curious. I'm curious what your results are gonna show.
Sure. Probably next week. Yeah.
Wicked, wicked, yeah. Because yeah, you said that the one that you had was one of the demo units from probably a fairly old one.
Yeah, I couldn't find a new demo unit because most of the demo units I think were like
Yeah.
2017 or before. But now there's a new shop that opened. Actually, it's Sam Audio, when the one that I've been promoting on that one. Yeah, they just got in the new Hifimans, so they
Yeah.
had to open up a new fresh Sundara.
That's good.
Yeah,
Well,
so
hopefully
at
they
that
got it
point, yeah.
from somewhere that has whatever the one is that people in North America. Actually, I should say I
Mhm.
don't know because so apparently reviewers got sent. I mean, you probably know this, but reviewers got sent units from a different allocation, different stock allocation that were not
Mhm.
the retail models. So I would expect that if they
Mm,
opened a brand new one, that it would be whatever the latest or current revision is. If it's like
sure.
from rather than like a demo unit from directly from Hi-Fi Man, I think that
Mhm.
may reveal a bit of a difference. Um,
Yeah.
and then the other thing that was interesting is Sean Olive measured. He bought two and measured both of them, and they
Mm.
both measured differently from one another. They
Oh
both
dear.
measured. They both measured in the like mids. They measured the same as the ones that I measured, but the base measurement was a little different. And I think that
Oh.
that's also partially because he's using the 45 CA, which is a fixed clamp,
Mhm.
and there's that argument that suggests that maybe it's a little more difficult to get the seal, so you're bound to see the leak a little bit more.
Mhm.
But of course, with we're using the variable clamp. um, but okay, let's see what else. I don't have any opinions on. I don't know what that is. Nova rot. Um, what's the headphone equivalent of S tier IEM? This is for Crin.
Oh God. Every time they ask me this question, and I'll usually like say like something like the HD 600 650. I don't know. At that point, it seems like that because I don't feel
Oh,
like the
that's
some
where the like the
yeah because I
crossover.
don't feel like the Z1R out resolves something like
hmm
the Sundara or the 600 or the around that level, if you get what I mean.
Well,
And anything higher because once you put something like the HD 800 into the mix, right,
hmm
any S tier IEM just completely shits itself. Is that much of a difference, or at least what I feel to be a difference. And of course, the moment you put in E-stats, it's another league
Right,
entirely on top of that. So
and it's
people get offended when I say it, but that's just my genuine opinion. Where I feel like if you're really gonna want sheer performance, yeah, sure, you should get a headphone
or
or
speakers.
speakers
Yeah, yeah,
or speakers.
yeah.
But if you value like portability and isolation and whatever else, but don't want to sacrifice too much of your audio quality, that's where all of the top tier IEMs come in, and what I support. Because again, the only two things that I use now is speakers at home and IEMs outside. And when I was back in Australia, I was commuting a lot, like
Mm,
probably 2 hours a day. So at that point I required IEMs even more.
right.
So yeah, yeah, sure. And at home I didn't feel like I could use a headphone, or at least I did with the HD 800. But I couldn't get a speaker because it's a dorm and I can't disturb anyone else with loud playing.
All right.
So yeah, so to me, IEMs are just something that I use a lot more often, and just something I'm willing to spend on more on, because I'm certainly not going to bring my HD 800 onto a bus, right?
Right. So I suppose the next question there is what what about like the headphone equivalent in terms of resolution to the Elysian Annihilator?
Mm, mm. Uh,
Oh, my camera's overheating. This could be bad.
is it? No,
No.
I'm not sure, honestly. Again, like all of these is I'll consider them like kind of a false equivalence because uh, what do you think is higher in resolution than the HD600? Like just
Higher in
name
resolution and
just slightly, just slightly, just a slight bump
well,
upwards.
I mean personally, I think Sundara is because it's
Mm-hmm.
has the planar advantage of the instrument separation and incisiveness. But it's
Mm-hmm.
actually the HD600 is pretty good for that.
Mm-hmm.
Focal
I'm saying like probably
Alex,
some Elex.
maybe.
Oh yeah, around there, I guess. Sure, why
Okay,
not? Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's where the Annihilator starts to run into
So
the limit
wait, how much is the Annihilator?
a
It,
lot.
it's like many
It's like
thousands.
3,500. Yeah, so
So
like people buy expensive IEMs to get as close as possible, not to outperform. If you
right.
have the expectations of outperforming, be sorely disappointed is what I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
I
Okay.
mean, it's the same analogy as with the smartphone and PC argument, right? You
Right.
buy a smartphone because you use it every day, you use it outside. You don't buy a smartphone for raw computing power. At that point, you get a desktop. Or if you're on a middle ground, that's the laptop.
Right.
But in most cases, people tell you like, okay, if you're going to have two things, you might as well just get a desktop and a phone, and not get a desktop and a laptop, because that doesn't make sense. Or at least most people would have a phone anyways. Same thing.
Yeah.
It's like I think every single audiophile out there is going to have one pair of IEMs
I
because yeah, every single one. Or, like if you don't have a pair of IEMs, then I'm just asking, are you at home every single day,
yeah, it's a good point.
every single hour, every single waking hour? If you go outside, you're probably going to use IEMs at some point, right? Or maybe a TWS.
Yeah, I do think though that there is that question about like so for example, for a long time I was just about headphones because that was like the like perfect middle ground there for, you know, form factor to performance and
Hmm.
not IEMs because whenever I was outside I would
Close back.
well actually no I whenever I was outside I mean I had IEMs but not like high end audiophile IEMs, you know.
Hmm.
But realistically, I just didn't listen to music. I was, you know, my music listening was like, okay, I'm in a very specific place, and I'm just not doing
Mm,
anything else, and I'm focused on this stuff. And then, you know,
I
maybe
see.
you know you're like, also because like if I was out in public or bus was really loud and just whatever else, right? The situation just made it so that it wasn't like convenient to do that. And then I remember getting more and more into IEMs, and the more I got into them, the more I realized the distance between those cheapo things that you can buy at like uh, Best Buy or
Best
wherever.
Buy.
Yeah,
Mm,
and like stuff that's like actually good.
hmm.
And admittedly, like at the time, it was like more about the resolution aspects, where I was like, "Oh man, like this is crazy. This is so much better than what I was used to with IEMs." And so I think that like it's almost like a bit of a shock thing. I mean, when you first hear like a highly resolving multi BA IEM, like the Andromeda or something like that, right? That's a entry
Hmm.
point, I suppose, for that world.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like, okay, now suddenly the rules have changed for the form factor question, and what's convenient. But
Mm,
but yeah, I still like I generally agree with that sort of like you know like if I had to choose between decent IEMs and decent headphones at around the same price, I think you could get more with decent headphones, you know. So that question,
mm.
the answer to that question of Sundara versus Blessing 2, my answer my answer is Sundara. Unless we're talking about the Dusk, of course, in which case, no, just kidding.
Mm.
uh, but yeah, Super says that the Blessing 2 is better than he likes the Blessing 2 better, I think. I just see. I see that we got Android and Super in the chat. Okay, here's another one from Super. How do you deal with the question: is X an upgrade to Y, or what is a good upgrade from Z or Z?
I do get that question a lot, and most of the time I just redirect them to my ranking list.
That's the benefit of a ranking list.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes the purchase decision easy.
Yeah, so a lot of people like to rag on the idea of a ranking list or a tier list, but to me personally, I can just do that. I can just like, all right, you want this or that, or comparing that or this, and just just refer to the list. Do your own homework as opposed to me like feeding you all of the answers, right? But a lot of cases they ask like really weird questions, and at that point I'll be happy to answer. Like for example, some will probably ask like what would be a I forget what it was, like an IEM that doesn't isolate but with good sub bass.
That doesn't isolate.
Mm-hmm.
Like doesn't cause pressure, or
no, that means it's just open back, right?
Oh, like a iSign,
like an earbud, like an earbud, but with good sub bass.
Okay.
So those are the weird questions that I'll be like, all right, at that point maybe iSigns, but you need to heavily EQ the hell out of it. Right? Or certain other like. I'm not gonna recommend that guy like a KSC 75 because he specifically asked for sub bass, right?
Right. I'm just trying to think if I have, because like I get a lot of questions as well, but none of them are like that weird. But a lot of them are just ones that I can't answer because I haven't had the experience with whatever Like usually it's like, how does this amp or DAC compare to this other amp or DAC, and I haven't heard either of them. So it's. And which I don't know. Do you get a lot of amp and DAC questions? I just see there's some here now, but
no, I shut them down immediately. I just tell them nope. I don't care about that. They already know. I've my reputation precedes myself, so I can just say like, all right, yeah.
But I have a question on that for you.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that you're able to tolerate the topping A90?
I use it mostly as a preamp. For my speakers.
Gotcha.
Outside, I still use my black label because it's transportable, right?
The convenience, yeah.
Yes. So in most cases, and still today, my ranking list is based off of listening on the black label. I'm replacing it because iFi has graciously offered to replace my black label with the signature,
which is better in every way, like the physical.
Yeah. And of course, because my current black label is so old and decrepit and just dying,
little knobs falling off and
the
stuff.
knobs and everything, the switches are causing channel imbalance as well.
Yeah, that happens to mine as well.
So yeah, thanks to Sebastian for helping me arrange
Shout
this.
Out to Sebastian.
I also asked for Diablo. No, I didn't ask for Diablo, but I told him like, hey, can I have the Diablo? And I just put it at the corner of every single video review and not talk about it at all. It's just like one red thing there, which is very visible, but
but that's your promotion. As versatile as the black label.
Yes,
because the black
label has the IEMs thing, right?
Yeah.
They also have a lot of the bass boost and the
all the
3D crossfeed thing. Yeah,
I think
those are nice. Which is why at the end of the day, when he did ask me like, okay, between the Diablo and Signature, which one would you pick? I told him like, well, as a reviewer, the Signature is much better, and I don't need the power of the Diablo.
If you had,
despite what many may say.
No, it's something like 5 watts or something ridiculous.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Even on my current black label, right?
Yeah, the black label is already way more than
I have my IEMs set to the ultra setting, and I have the power boost at eco, because anything higher than that meant that my volume knob is gonna be below 9 o'clock.
Does the IE match on the Signature change the output impedance at all?
I know on the black label it just increases it from like 0.4 to 0.9 or something like that.
Oh, so not significantly.
Yeah, okay. But I'm not sure on the Signature. I'm sure it's about the same.
About the same.
It should be about the same. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember trying the black label and thinking to myself, there's no situation where I would need this, because for all the portable uses, none of the headphones are that power demanding. So it was a bit
HE6.
more... Yeah, like I'm not using an HE6 on the bus. At least not yet, although that'd be a good... Yeah, maybe there's some bro science I can do there.
As a reviewer who goes out to like random audio stores, I need that power, but that need is kind of like in very dark and bolded quotation marks because there really isn't a lot.
You only
Like,
need it to counter the goalpost shifting.
yeah. And even with the Motu M2, which is my other source that I use transportably, which is pathetic in terms of power, by the way. It's like I think it's weaker than the Apple dongle.
Oh, really?
I still use it most of the time because getting to the measurement volumes that I require, which is like 94 or 95 decibels, is still about 12 o'clock. So
Okay.
I really don't need that power. I really don't.
Right. I was actually kind of surprised at how little power is needed for most headphones when I realized that. So, like, in the studio, I use mostly the Rebel amp right now, and I was kind of surprised to learn that it's only 1 watt at 32 ohms. So
yeah,
this is
and that's a lot still.
and that's a lot, right? And the thing is, it drove everything that I had there. Like high impedance headphones, no problem. I was running the Abyss AB1266 with like right at noon. Like I didn't need to go much higher. So that idea of like you need to have 7 watts or whatever, like I don't know if that's.
No, you're not going to use all that power, and
No.
headroom only goes so far, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think what's the power conversion rate, which is like 10 times to get. Sorry, if you increase your power 10 times, your volume only doubles, something like that. It's a log curve, right?
Yeah.
So let's say a headphone has like 90 decibels per milliwatt, right? And you want like 20. Is it? I know it's 20 decibels per 1,000 times or something like that. Yeah, the calculations all there. I'm sure someone can search it up.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't take that much of a headroom when your listening volume is. And here's the important part: when your listening volume is safe and healthy and not destroying your ears. Because here's the thing: if you listen at like 110 dB SPL, root mean squared, that is going to be, you're going to need a lot of power for sure, but at what cost?
Your hearing. I mean, but Crin, what if we're just talking about peak?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you need a lot more power, I meant with peak. Right?
Okay, yes.
Yes. So again, if you do a root mean squared for like, let's say you're listening on a very healthy 80 decibels.
Yep.
I think if you have
75.
like a 20, I think if you have a 20 decibel peak, that's still like I think it's times. It might be a times 100. But you have to understand that most headphones are able to hit 80 decibels under a milliwatt already.
Right.
So that multiplied 1,000 or multiplied 100 is actually not going to make a lot of difference because, again, as you said, you have amps that perform at 1 watt at 32 ohms, and it's still fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There are amps that I see it over there. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Codis Tone 2 Pro, but like stuff like that in the EO or FIO.
I got offered that quite a lot. I had to keep telling people, no, this is not my thing.
It is,
and it's not my thing as in I don't like it. It's not my thing as in I don't review things like that.
Right. Fair enough. There was a topic that I wanted to address that was brought up by Metal571. Actually, he brought it up on Twitter as well, and it's the difference between things that you recommend and things that you would personally buy. And I think, it's an interesting point that just because you wouldn't personally buy it doesn't mean you can't recommend a thing, for a given person. And I just wanted to get your sort of thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's true. I have a HD 600 and a 650, but those were gifted to me by Sennheiser. I wouldn't buy them on my own. But I do recognize clearly that they are legendary headphones in their own right. It's just that for my own use case, again, speakers, I don't need open back headphones. So, and I have personally bought some things, but in most cases, those are just like things that I'm trying to look at my collection and seeing like what are the things I bought. I bought the HD 800, and then I modified it with a Super DuPont resonator.
Right.
And then I have the HE1000, which I have famously modified into an ear speaker configuration.
Right. The HEK1K.
I think those are the only two headphones that I've personally purchased.
Right.
And in terms of IEMs, I think the last thing that I personally purchased, or at least in my own, like the significant one, because I'm pretty sure I've purchased some like random $2, $5 IEMs. I'm not counting those. But the last thing that I really purchased was like the Z1R.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a long time ago. I think that's at this point that's like 3 years ago, right?
The last thing I purchased was headphone related. I can't remember. It might have been. Yeah, it might have been the Verite. I think it was the Verite.
Oh, you bought the Verite?
Yeah, I bought the Verite. Like
I would have expected Mr. Mailbag would have just sent it to you.
No. I bought it. No, and yeah, I think that's the last thing that I bought. So it's a while ago, you know. But I mean, there's still things that I would like personally buy, like if I wasn't a reviewer, like if I wasn't, because that's the thing is like when like for us, we're not listening to the things that we own all that commonly. We're listening, you know, because we have to listen to, we have to test a whole bunch of stuff, right? So the value of actually personally owning things, apart from as a tool for reference points, is not as high as, you know, if that was the one thing that you had and then that's just like all you listen to. So I think it is a more difficult question to answer because, you know, you just have to kind of like instead put yourself in that mindset of like, okay, if I wasn't reviewing headphones, you know, what are the things that I would buy? And it is something now that's totally changed. Like my perspective has totally changed from, you know, before I started doing this stuff to a certain extent. I mean, you know, K through 71 and then turn off the internet, you know, just because stuff gets expensive. But
I would actually purchase I think the only thing that I would purchase now in the future would be a custom Viento.
Oh, interesting.
But that's only because
I hear that stuff.
That's because I need a custom IEM. And the best IEM that I've heard that also sounds amazing in a custom form, in fact it sounds better on a custom form, is the Viento. Everything else, I have a couple of customs. I have the MEST, I have the N8, I have some craft ears, I have a lot of custom molded IEMs. It's just that I don't use them because honestly speaking, a lot of these customs don't fit my preferences very well. And I bought the N8 as well, so
right.
that was a regret purchase, right? Yeah.
Well, you know, you modded it.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to mod it again because I fucked up the last time I modded it. I had to send it back for an RMA. So when it came back, I just didn't touch it at all. Never again.
Yeah, I think if I were to buy, like if I put myself in that headspace to like, you know, what would I personally buy? If it's an IEM, it's probably the U12T. That tuning I love, you know.
But the fit is so bad though. I don't like the fit of the 64 audio universals.
You know, the fit, I actually don't mind them. They're fine for me. The fits that I have trouble with are actually the big boy the audio IEMs, like the Monarch and Clairvoyance. The fit's a little bit different. Like the Oracle's actually really comfortable, but it's a little smaller. And the fit of the Blessing 2 is not as bad as, so if I think about, you know the nozzle on the Blessing 2 is like really thick, or not. I don't know if it's really thick. It's really large. That one I don't have any problem with, but for whatever reason, the Soft Ears RSV I can't deal with at all. And the other one that I have trouble with, weirdly, is the Cubic Ears Orchestra because of the back piece, and it sort of bashes into just like a weird part of my ear. I don't notice it right away.
When it comes to large IEMs, I clearly don't have problems because my ears are large. The problem that I have with IEMs is it's more the shape of the conjure area. Because the U12T and other 64 audio IEMs are flat, right? And the nozzle just kind of just sticks out like a little peanut right there. Yeah. So it's hard for me to. It doesn't get a secure fit on my kind of huge ears. So it doesn't work for me, unfortunately.
But what about a custom of the 64 audio, like the U12T.
Yeah, I have an N8.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah, that's fair enough.
The customs are fine because clearly they're custom, so
Yeah.
it fits you perfectly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard horror stories of the A12T sounding a lot darker
Oh, than
and
the U12T.
than the U12T.
Ah, interesting.
So at that point, I feel like if that's why my ranking list kind of very specifically refers to it as the U12T and not the A12T.
Right.
And
Which, by the way,
and
we're giving away this month in the giveaways.
I will be participating. Not on that. I've actually participated for the Susvara.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
one
had.
where, like, yeah, if I had the money, I would buy that. You know.
Yeah,
That's
$6,000. That's not. I wouldn't spend more than $1,500 on any piece of audio gear, personally. Yeah, even my speakers. Actually, no. With my speakers, I have spent more than 1,500 total.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Even the KH750 is more than 1,500.
Yeah,
Just that one subwoofer alone is already a lot more expensive.
I mean, that's the thing. I need to get into speakers now, and that's where the money needs to go.
Yeah, iLouds, if you want iLouds, if you want something small.
I want to get some Genelecs or Genelecs or whatever they're
Oh,
called.
Genelecs, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the analog to the KH120s would be the 8030.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
I
one I
can
was actually
get-
looking at. It's not cheap though. Stuff.
I mean, if you look at it in terms of Susvaras,
Yes, that's a good way of framing it.
that's 0.5 Susvaras, or that's
It is.
0.2 Susvaras.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Well, yeah. I was gonna say right now I'm evaluating the AB1266, and trying to see how I think about that against the Susvara. But it is a new one. It's a current.
The 1236 it has the Odyssey problem of being technical but not well tuned.
Yeah, that's basically it.
I think that's all of this in general.
Yeah. But yeah, I still have I need more time, I guess, with it. It's interesting. But there's a few super chats here that I want to address.
Ooh,
Scott,
super chat.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. This is a good question, just in general. Why are measurements taken at 90 plus dB when I don't know a single person who listens at the level? So there's two reasons for this. The one reason is it's often difficult to get readable distortion measurements if you are if you're measuring lower, and if you're measuring higher, then first you're going to be much more above the noise floor with your distortion, with your THD, but then also what you'll see will be more readable. So you'll actually be able to tell, second from third, from fourth from fifth, etc. And you see where the level art is, because it's not a perfect relationship with level, but it is related to level. The other reason is, at least in some places where you see 114 dB plus, is to try and see what the edge case behavior would be, which is also related to the distortion question. But the idea would be, if your peak is at whatever that level is at, and this is your distortion behavior at that peak. I don't know, Crin, is there anything else that you would say is the reason why?
For me personally, it's just to also eliminate environmental noise from the variable of frequency response. Because, for example, and again, sometimes your environment may not be perfect, as in my case where I measure in storefronts. You might have like a low rumble somewhere that is that 30 hertz.
Yeah.
That might get picked up if you were listening at, say, or should I say, get picked up if you're measuring at 70 decibels or 80 decibels. So just go higher to give yourself that headroom, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's also what you would do in real life as well. Like, again, if you go, have you ever gone out to like a bus, a very noisy bus, and what you do is just instinctively just start increasing your volume? That's what you do. Yeah. Not everyone listens at a cool 80 decibels in a silent environment. No, some people listen at 90 decibels in a plane, for example.
Yeah.
So
it's probably not healthy to do, but
it's not. But at least we can be self-aware that, all right, I'm damaging my ears, but I want to listen to music, right? Yeah. But yeah, don't do it. But I'm just saying, this is what we do like instinctively because there's background noise.
But what
So-
people do, what one would
Yeah.
do normally, yeah.
What one would do.
as
yes.
as the noise
But not
increases.
us. We are the
But it
elites.
is-
We are the cream of the crop.
Well, yeah, I don't. That's A and C stuff on
I
planes.
still
is
do
not-
it like occasionally because yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just only I know. Only listening at home. When I was a kid, I had that problem. You know, I'd like take the bus home and then afterwards be like, holy shit, I'm listening way too loud. You know, because you're doing it. It's just a
I try
six-signal
and set a
noise.
limit. Yeah. Set a limit most of the time. I think outdoors I'll listen to about 5 to 7 decibels higher than I would at home.
Yeah.
Which is still a little bit less than what I would actually do.
It's
it's
I know,
it's
right?
just my own personal limit, right?
And you know,
I feel like, all right, if I go any higher than this, I really shouldn't. So yeah.
Yeah.
But that's only because I'm a professional, and I know that my ears aren't gonna last forever, and I want to just make sure that my literal money makers aren't gonna fail on me at the most crucial moment.
Yeah, that's important. I see here. Sorry, I have to address something. So someone says A90 is accurate. Something like the Jot 2 is not. So this
that's on you, man.
I know. Here we go again. A90. And somebody else says the A90 is boring, super compressed sound. So there is a narrative around the A90 that it is, this audibly transparent thing, but it is based on SINAD, which is we have a video coming out soon about why SINAD is not.
Yeah. Fuck SINAD.
It's not. People think that it's a measure of sound quality because it's like your rankings, you know, like at the very least with your rankings, it's based on your subjective take and frequency response, right? It's based on its, total technical dichotomy, but the function of a ranking list makes it easy, makes the purchase decision easy, and then what happens with SINAD is people will then use that. Have that same sort of relationship with the ranking and go, this scores better on this one index than this other thing, therefore this must be better for sound quality, even though it's not necessarily. It's not a sufficient condition for better sound quality. The other thing, and I've been working with our mutual friend Blaine on this. We're actually going to be publishing an article that goes through it as well, but SINAD is old. This is something I didn't realize. It was very, very old. It's from
it's one of the first. It's one of the first measurement metrics that came out.
Early 1900s.
Because it's easy. No, here's the thing. You can actually measure SINAD with a fast Fourier transform, like the ones that I use on my iPhone.
Yeah.
All I have to do is just play a 1 kilohertz tone and just see the harmonics that appears afterwards. It's literally the simplest and easiest measurement you can perform once you have even the bare minimum of equipment.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like the what's the technique that we always use? The Farina suite, right? The Farina suite requires quite a bit more.
Yeah.
And it's not like a stepped distortion measurements. But yeah, my whole point is because SINAD is so simple, it only captures distortion at a singular point. In ASR's case, it's 1 kilohertz.
Yeah.
Which is, if you were to tell anyone that who isn't in the hobby that, all right, we listen at a frequency range of 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, and we measure performance at 1 kilohertz because that's the most important frequency, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I can kind of understand why, if they're trying to show where, if the
but the problems could manifest anywhere else. That's the problem.
They could, but so I mean, in some ways, it would make sense to do it lower, so you could see where you'd have a much wider, longer, or broader range of where the harmonics could show.
I'll say make it maybe exponential, where it's like 10 hertz, 100 hertz, 500 hertz, 1K, 2K. You don't have to do the whole stepped measurements thing, which is what the old way of measuring THD was, where they literally just do it in I think one. You can set the octave. They go by octaves, which means that you can do 1/8 octave, and they literally just do a THD measurement on every single point, and that takes 2 hours to do.
Right.
But with the Farina suite, that's far more simplified, and you could just do it like
Yeah.
with just a single sweep and it's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, again, that's the whole difference between the old measurement style and the new measurement style. And the old measurement style of SINAD is like,
Yeah.
in today's context, it's primitive. Again, I can do SINAD with my phone. That's how old it is.
It's another thing that's sort of dumb about it. Well, it's not really dumb. It's just like something that I think people make the mistake about when they're making these purchase decisions is they're not making it knowing whether it's noise dominated or distortion dominated, and they'll just look at the score and go, this number is higher than that number, therefore better. But they may be in a situation where, So I actually think the A90 is a good example of this. If it were scored in SINAD with the ground loop issue, there's no way it would score as highly as it did. Because the ground loop issue, you get noise.
Yeah.
But because it wasn't scored with the ground loop issue, like with the ground loop being it wasn't scored with using RCA and USB, I assume. There's now a narrative about it being the most, this like really transparent and whatever thing. But it's only because of it was measured without the ground loop. I assume, again, I'm not 100% sure, but like if it's audible, like that thing produces audible noise floor in certain configurations. So I don't know. I just think it's a poor. Yeah, we'll have a video out about it soon.
I mean, there are studies out there. I'm seeing some one comment, actually, just a singular comment saying that we don't understand measurements. The thing is, there has been studies that prove that distortion metrics under a certain threshold, the audibility threshold,
10
so to
and
speak.
Olive and
Olive as well as the Gatley papers, prove that distortion doesn't even predict listener preference at all. It might, if let's say you're talking about 1% distortion versus 15% distortion.
Yeah, even 1% was there was no correlated preference.
Because that's about the level that you get with a common speaker, right?
Yeah.
So it really, THD really doesn't predict listener preference, even if you don't accept our explanation and so-called mansplaining of distortion and how it's measured.
There's a lot of papers.
At least listen to the research that says distortion does not predict listener preference at all. It's tested. It's on papers. They have been peer reviewed. You can argue to the cows come home.
Yeah.
But it will not. It will not, prove that you need like super low distortion out of your your amps or decks or even your speakers, whatever. Yeah. Because it simply doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for bursting your bubble, but there you go.
Well, we'll have. I don't want to. There's stuff I want to say, but I don't want to spoil the video that we're working on right now on why SINAD is not important. But yeah, we'll have to. I'll have to leave it there for now on that topic. But somebody else says they threw their topic in the garbage. I suggest not doing that. I suggest selling
okay, now he's saying that it doesn't make it completely irrelevant. No, you are the one who said that we are making it completely irrelevant. What we are saying is that it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. That's your straw man. We are not attacking your straw man. We are not saying that it's completely irrelevant. That's what you are saying.
Is this distortion and noise measurements show if a product is well engineered or not? SINAD above a certain number is irrelevant or relevant?
It's irrelevant, which is true. Yeah, it's above a certain number is irrelevant. But it's not completely irrelevant, which is true. It does show that if you have a higher distortion, that there might be problems in a certain component or whatever. It's good for QC at least, right? Yeah. We're not saying that it's completely irrelevant, but we're just saying that in the context of ASR reviews, where they literally try and relate like listener preference and determine performance with SINAD, that is an inherently wrong correlation, which has been proven by papers again by Gatley and Sean Olive and Toole himself as well.
Yeah, I like the Sean Olive one. The Sean Olive one is. There is one hole that I think you could poke in the Sean Olive one, or I guess it's Steve Tem and Sean Olive and Co. But Harman Research, and it's that I don't think that they use a particularly large sample size.
Yeah, sample size is always a problem
But
with these kinds of niche like
they are, yeah. It felt like probably a
yeah.
bunch of grad students, but at the same time, they did keep the trained listener variable constant. So at the very least, there should be some, like, it might be a small sample size, but like I forget what the actual terms are for this, but like, they all at least had some commonality to them. So it wasn't like you were pulling this, and the commonality was that they passed whatever was, I assume was Harman's How to Listen. But yeah, I mean, I guess the conclusion there is that they just need more funding. Sean, you can we'll talk about it later. No, just kidding. It'd be amazing. Yeah, Android doesn't like it either. Here we go. Measurements are more reliable than reviewer impressions when it comes to amps and DACs, though. Only
I'm not touching. This is not my.
Only if it's broken. It's a measure of a broken or flawed design. That's why I think for me, like, that stuff is all pass fail. It's technically not pass fail, because in some ways it also depends on the person. Not the person, but like the headphones that the person has, because the noise component of SINAD is. You're calling it SINAD, I'm calling it SINAD.
Yeah.
But the noise component is going to be determined by the headphones because it's based on sensitivity. So it's either highly relevant, critically relevant, or completely irrelevant, and it changes depending on the headphones that you're using. So if you have an HE6, that noise, which is one of the confounding variables, one of the key variables in SINAD, that noise doesn't matter. But if you have Campfire Andromeda, then it matters a lot. It matters more than just about everything else, because if there's any noise floor there, that's going to be super annoying, way more annoying than potentially inaudible second and third order harmonic level increase. So to me, it's like it's just not like. I think the big issue with it is that there are two confounding variables in something that is not going to give you any predictive sound quality benefits in the first place. That is represented as a ranking to try, so that people think that, oh, this measures better, therefore better. This scores better, therefore better sound quality, and that's not.
I think the problem is that people are kind of trying to relate measurements that the factory does for QC purposes, and trying to relate that to somehow it being performance, like indicative of performance. Which is the same thing with FR, because again, you use FR for QC, but that doesn't mean that whatever FR that factory generates means that it's gonna be accurate, right?
Yeah.
Because again, for the longest time, Odyssey of all people was using a KU100, which is considered a bottom tier measurement device. But they don't need a high tier one, because all they're using it for is for QC.
Yeah.
So you see again where the correlation of the factory does it, therefore we need to do it, doesn't really work that way.
It is interesting though. The question about measurements, obviously, like, if I think about like the measurements that, like, not all measurements should be valued equally. Like frequency response, I think is the key measurement. It's like
I've been saying it. For some reason I've been saying that for so long, but people still don't get it. They still tell me to do like impulse and THD and CSD and I know Chocomel himself would approve of what I'm saying now, which is to say that all of them are not completely irrelevant. No, it's not completely relevant, but in most cases you're better off just looking at FR. People still tell me to do square waves of all things, and I just have to tell them square waves is just FR with more steps.
And it took me a while to get there as well. And I think a lot of that was because you read the old Tile papers, and he was doing that. I have less of an issue.
Yeah, Tile was, it's always a tough ask to like go against Mr. Tile Hurstens. He has done a lot of great things, but again, the thing that we all disagree with him on is, why does he do square waves, right?
Yeah.
Because square waves, again, it's literally directly linked to FR.
I remember. I was talking to the guy who we bought the guy who was, I think, the rep for Gross,
Mm-hmm.
at least in North America. And I was like, well, I was wanting to make sure we were getting the right measurement rig at the time. This is
Mm-hmm.
like way back, and I hadn't talked to Oratory or anybody else yet. I didn't really know what was we're supposed to get. So I just mentioned, these are the measurements that we want to do. Obviously, frequency response and THD. And then he was like, well, do you want to do anything else? And I mentioned, square wave, and he's like, why would you care about square wave? So
Uh,
there's there's a lot of that like I think it just comes from those old papers. Um,
mm,
I do have a bit of an opinion on that though, with square wave but also CSD and all that stuff, and
mm-hmm.
I don't have an issue with it as long as it's not being represented as if it's additional information on top of frequency response. But
Yeah, if
I
it's
think
additional info, I think it's not like gonna damage or it's not
yeah.
malicious or whatever. But at the same time, it also creates the question of why.
And it's often represented in a way where it looks like it's giving you something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you just look at it at a glance, you don't necessarily think that this
Mm-hmm.
is the same thing. So that's why I think it becomes a little bit difficult. But I wanted to mention as well, though, that what I see a lot is these days is some certain companies often was more so in IEMs these days, they are starting to publish measurement frequency response measurements,
Yeah.
in the headphones, and I think that's in part, or at least largely, related to the work that you've done on with the
Mm-hmm.
database. Um, I see that also, unfortunately, continuing now with well, it's not unfortunate, but I see some of that marketing aspect now also
Mm-hmm.
applying to DACs and amps and things like that. Now, I want to be clear about the criticism that I think both of us have here. It's not of measurements of DACs and amps, but rather it's the index of SINAD, or at least that's where I come down on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care that it's not a bad thing to measure amps and DACs. I think that's actually a good thing, because you'd want to know
Mm-hmm.
where the noise floor is, and you'd want to know, so
Mm-hmm.
basically, if it's noise dominated, distortion dominated, what's going on, where the thresholds are. But the problem is the aggregation of it, or the summing of
Mm-hmm.
it, and then representing that as one number to then give a ranking and say this is better or worse. That's the problem, not actually measuring not the data itself.
Yeah. I think for SINAD is one of those things where again I see it as very good for QC for
Yes.
QC process. But because it's only really good for QC, which is why SINAD measurements provided for DACs and amps should be on a per unit basis, individual unit basis,
Yeah.
right? So you can't just measure a golden sample and then just put it on every single box that comes with the amp and DAC, because it doesn't make sense at that point. Why are you measuring the golden sample and
Mm.
not caring about all the
Oh
QC
yeah.
processes that you have? But whereas with frequency response, at least it's more useful. You could measure the golden sample of frequency response and put it on the box, and
You
I
could
think that is fine, right?
smooth
Because
it so yeah, whatever.
yeah, so while it's used for FR, at least you can tell, like, all right,
Yeah.
this is FR. We clearly use it as a QC process as well. But here's what it should sound like.
Right.
It's a bit of a slippery slope still. Yes, I understand, but that's where people like me, Edge Droid, Precog, Banview, etc., all the Super Review, all of us, we do measurements for IEMs now. I feel happy that we now have this like community of measurators who can confirm or deny
Yeah.
like golden unit samples provided by manufacturers. But I think the problem here is that just because, not just because, if our measurements disagree with the manufacturer's like golden sample unit published or whatever, it would honestly be better if people realize that manufacturers are not out there to be fully honest, because they don't earn money by being fully honest. They could tweak the measurements, or they could, again, golden sample. The whole point of a golden sample is to literally have the best measuring sample, but QC might completely screw with that.
Of course.
And at that point, you should trust people like us who have no teeth in the game. We don't earn money from publishing a bad graph. We don't earn money by publishing a good graph.
Yeah.
So trust us, because we clearly just take the thing that we got sent, shove it into the coupler, and that's it.
That's why I like the idea of the public of like how I think Sennheiser does this as well, but like when you get a headphone, there are measurements of that specific unit.
The HD800, yes.
Yeah, HD800. Yeah, they did that.
And the HE1 at some point.
Yeah,
if you could afford HE1.
But I like. I mean, maybe it's too difficult a thing to do, but like there's the like here's the representative thing, the golden sample one, and there's then when you buy it, the expectation that's going to sound like that. To a certain extent, it's much more. It's worse to do a here's a golden sample how in the marketing page or whatever it is, and then also give you the actual measurements of your own thing, because there is bound to be unit variation. You look at it and go, wait, that doesn't match what it's supposed to. Like why didn't I get the thing that I was supposed to? So to a certain extent, I think it's difficult for manufacturers to do that, because it would be like but I still want them to. I still, because as you've pointed out, we're going to do it anyway.
I've told this story a few times as well, which is where I had arguments with. Actually, I'm not going to name the brand at this point, but yeah, I've had arguments with X brand who was complaining about the measurements that I had published.
Right.
Saying that it was wrong and everything, and someone actually piped up and said, if my measurements were wrong, why not you provide the measurements? And they didn't. They just kept quiet from there.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, it's also good for the manufacturers to provide their own graphs, because again, we now have this practice of kind of measuring all of the new things that come into the market. And so it's good for them to at least provide a counter example in the event that they see like a certain measurement,
right.
Like okay, it doesn't vibe with our in-house QC measurements.
Right.
So let's just so that is an additional data point. Again, I've also said that you shouldn't trust the manufacturer, because it's not in their benefit to provide 100% accurate measurements, or even a measurement that properly scaled. You see a lot of manufacturer measurements, they tend to be extremely compressed and look basically like a flat line. It's but it's always a step in the right direction, as opposed to just telling everyone his measurements are wrong, his measurements are wrong, his measurements are wrong. We're not going to show you our measurements because take our word for it. Yeah. And at that point, my respect for you just plummets down.
Yeah. The one that I think is funny is when there's a situation of, okay, I measured this thing, here's how it measures, and then the response, from a manufacturer, or often you see this in the community as well, someone says, oh, your measurement is clearly wrong, because it doesn't sound like that to me.
Oh yeah, okay. Those comments I just completely ignore, because there is nothing for me to latch onto. Because I like debating. I like to be proven wrong, or at least like tell me something and show that I am wrong.
Yeah.
But for statements like that just say it's wrong because it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing for me to latch to. How am I going to argue that? Yeah. Like, okay, sure, it's your ears, I guess. Do you know how to read frequency response? I guess that's the next question: is do you know how to read FR?
That I think is the difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way,
it's hard. It's intuitive, but the more you dive into like frequency response and everything, you realize that it's a really, really deep rabbit hole.
This is why I advocate people, get into EQing stuff, because at the very least it'll tell you about what different frequency ranges do.
EQ is the first exposure that anyone has to frequency response, right? I believe that the graph is one thing, sure, but people really only understand frequency response when you touch an EQ.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe more difficult when you don't know the frequency response of the headphones that you're wearing, but at the same time, it should be out there, I had to say thanks to the Viking Cam for the coffee. It says coffee morning. Oh wait, it's weekend, so beer it is. All right. Actually, I don't drink beer anymore, unfortunately.
If I have coffee, I still have coffee here.
Hey, what time is it there for you? You must be
1:45. I like to film at night because no one else bothers me at night.
Yeah, me too. It's otherwise I get all the construction sounds and whatever during the day, which is sad. We should probably have a few more questions, and then I'll let's do a few more, and then I'll let you go. Are you drinking coffee anyway? So you'll be up for a while.
Oh, technically, this is decaf.
Oh, what is even the point of decaf coffee?
I like the mild taste of coffee. Sometimes. This is basically just coffee flavored milk.
Yes. I would drink coffee flavored water, just instead of water.
Yeah, that's just hot bean water.
Yeah, that's my other stripper name is Hot Bean Water. Okay. Let's see. We don't know how to interpret FR measurements for headphones. With speakers, we do. Research shows people prefer flat and low distortion speakers. But
actually, they don't. Like Harman has shown that people prefer a downslope with a sub bass boost.
Well, yeah, it depends on was it 2009?
Mm-hmm. Research has shown that people don't like the flat line. They want the downslope.
But doesn't that also depend on what we're talking about? Like we're talking about in a room, or we're talking about in a anechoic chamber, or...
No, I think most of the Harman research was on a well-tuned room, or like a diffuse-ish environment, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like no one really does research in a free field environment because we don't listen to music in an open field, for example.
Yeah. But I still think, I don't know, the statement, we don't know how to interpret FR measurements for headphones, I kind of disagree with that, because there's a lot of research that has gone into interpreting FR measurements in headphones. Even really old stuff like that I've come across from like the whatever, I can't remember what it's called, but Floyd Toole's book. There's stuff in there on the like old drawings and diagrams from various different places. It's like that stuff's been kind of figured out, like not in the fine grain sense,
we had a lot of research. I remember reading the old papers on these Wislocky couplers.
Oh yeah,
those are fun. Yeah. Those are honestly really fun to read, because you're just reading through like, they actually like made a custom mold and they put like a literal tube in there.
Yeah. So no, I'd say that like it's not as figured out like what the ideal tuning is for headphones. Maybe that I'd say, but there is at least something there. You need a certain amount of ear gain. That's essential. And what Harman showed is that people prefer a certain amount of bass. I think what I want, and maybe Jude can help with this, is someone to develop a high res Harman target off of the 5128.
5128.
Yeah,
maybe
a high res version, because I mean, if even Sean Olive would probably agree that you would want to lop off everything above 10K on the Harman target, because it's not,
But the problem with that is, didn't Jude also talk about how the RA040X coupler was already high res in itself? So it seems like he's contradicting himself by saying that the 5128 is more high res.
No. That was only to cast dispersions on the 0045.
Yeah, disgusting.
So I can't remember what the claim was, but no, I shouldn't say that. I think it was like, okay, the RA0402 solves some of the problems of the 0045, which I agree with. I mean, as far as like, if you didn't know about the coupler resonance, then
sure,
I would agree with that. And then but then neither are going to be as good as 5128. And I think he's probably right about that. But the problem is that we're not all on 5128s, so. But at the very least, I would love it if someone could then, because the issue that I think for any FR measurements is people don't know what that means commonly. So if you and you have the I can't remember who it was, somebody wrote an article on it a long time ago, indicating the problem, which is that you have a very coarse grained target. It's like 1/3 or 1/2 octave smoothing, and every headphone measurement, every frequency response measurement is ideally not smooth to that degree. You have a very fine grain.
Oh, DMS is here.
Yeah, what's up, DMS? Resolve X Sean Olive video when?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
we
would
could
love
fucking-
it. I would love it if Brewer and Care would be able to make a kind of 43 AG
Oh yes, that would
version
be
of
amazing.
the 5128.
It's true because you can't take a 5128 to.
So I want something portable. Okay, here's the thing. I could buy a 5128 right now.
Wow,
But
big bucks over here. Crin's
here's the
buying
thing.
drinks.
It's one of those things where it's just gonna sit in my office like forever, and again, most of my measurements are done in store.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a great investment. I'm not going to spend 60K?
Something like
60K?
that, yeah.
Maybe I can't afford it.
You just gotta slap a B&K logo on your graphs.
I wish
Get them to
Brewer and
sponsor
Care
you.
would sponsor me as
Yeah, that'd
well.
be amazing.
I'll gladly take a 5128. I have the track record. When I say I'm going to measure 200 headphones for you, I will.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that would actually, I think, get that because there is no database right now with the 5128 information. So
Yeah,
that
let
would
me be your proliferator.
Yeah.
Let me be your
But see, the thing is,
mascot, I guess.
if you do it, then I have to do it as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's going to create
I will
this cascade
throw,
of.
I will throw grass out of the window for you.
No,
if
see,
you sponsored me.
what I want, what I hope is going to happen, and I expect it will, is that Gross will come out with their next thing, which is going to
Oh,
be.
they are. They definitely are. But now they're kind of being leapfrogged over by Brewer and Care and
yeah.
Head Acoustics as well.
Yeah, but so I mean, there is competition in that space too.
Actually,
right?
maybe Head Acoustics can sponsor me.
There you go. But whatever, I mean, that's the thing is whatever the next thing is, the folks who are measuring a ton of headphones are the ones who, like that's gonna. The standard might be the standard, right? Like whatever is set by the various different rules there. But as far as the standard for comparative purposes and intelligibility, that's going to be set by people like you, and anybody who has the database, right? Which, by the way, we now have and will be live soon.
Is it soon? How soon is soon? Is it soon or is it soon trademark?
No, it's. So we've actually put it together on the same platform. It's on it's the headphone database, headphones database. So it's SUP's platform, and so we're going to put pressure on you to put all of your stuff there too. So
Here's the thing. I have already talked with Kim. It's just that he keeps telling me that he's still too busy updating the database for oratory. Yeah.
And
I
us,
don't know.
No, I
The
need to talk.
ball's in his court. The ball's not on my court. The ball is in his court. I've already expressed that. Yeah, sure. I don't mind doing it as well.
Well, I mean, I actually need to.
It's just, of course, there's the monetization aspect of it because
Yeah.
I have paywalled certain features on my site.
Of course.
So that is a problem.
Yeah.
As well. But in most cases, have you trying to do the Crinacle tool?
Actually,
it's simple to implement.
If Super's in the chat, he was actually we were originally going to implement that, but one of the things
and it works with SquakeBot if you want to get that too.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, Precog has it actually. I think Super put that together for him, but no, I liked the I don't know. There was something very visually satisfying about the oratories, or that grapher with all of oratory's graphs and all the comparisons with different target curves and stuff. And I just thought it made sense to, we could publish our own database using CronGraph and SquigLink or whatever. But what I think is more interesting than that is potentially being able to, say, okay, yeah, let's see how this measurement of the HD 650 or whatever it is compares with somebody else's measurement, also on a Gross 43 AG or something, something with a, KB 5000. So that's really why I want to do that. But we haven't. The problem is that it just takes a lot of time to export the data. Still, I mean, it doesn't take that much time, but for the amount of data and the amount of times that you need to do it. Plus, you gotta for me, it's like
you have to label it as well.
Yeah,
you have to attribute the name to the file.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
The files and everything.
And before it used to be I'm just thinking my measurement methodology changed I don't want to say very early on, but Yeah, for a while now, I've been going with a different methodology. Like even something as simple as like I didn't used to go all the way down to 10 hertz because that was beyond the range of human hearing. I
All
thought, why would I
right,
go down
yeah.
to 10 hertz? It doesn't make sense. But obviously, it makes sense to do that because it clips it off. You see it,
Yep.
you know, if you
Yep.
don't. So you know, since then I've moved. So there are little things, and I think in the grand scheme of things, it
Wait,
probably
so
doesn't matter.
how many things have you got in your database at this point?
No idea. I mean, oh, like how many completed things?
I'll say total. Like, give a rough estimate, I
I
guess.
so
Okay,
I,
completed and estimate.
So the estimated would be, yeah, I don't know, ballpark of, I don't know, 100, something like that, but maybe 150. But completed is nowhere near that because again, I have to go through and actually curate
Oh yeah.
the things. So, like I'm in a situation because especially for some of the older measurements, I didn't label them at all because I was only doing a measurement. I was doing two
Yeah.
sides in average and whatever. But and then after that, I got into a point where I was measuring all kinds of weird, freaky things like air gap behavior for planars, and then in-ear microphone on head measurements and all that stuff, and those weren't labeled either. So because I just thought, okay, well I can just publish the images and whatever because there wasn't a thought to putting it into a database. Now that we're doing that, it just requires going back and making sure that I'm exporting the right ones. So it is a lot of work, but it's just a matter of sitting down and doing it.
Yeah, I think on the first iteration of my headphone measurement database, because the way that I do my labeling is I have 3 right channel measurements and 3 left channel measurements. Thankfully, it's all automated, but yeah, after you have to label everything and all that. So the first iteration, which only had 50, took me 3 weeks.
Oh
Of
wow!
just like hardcore like relabeling and attributing the name to. Okay, I don't have to attribute all 3. For example, all I have to do is just attribute like the file name to the model name, but I also have to generate the list of brands. And, because I don't think headphones database does this, but I have to do like a separation of brand and model.
Right. So yeah, you would say I know how it works with the
Like Sennheiser and then 600, 650, 800, yeah.
No,
So
and you're right.
I had to populate this whole database basically, and it took us such a long time.
Yeah, headphones database is just the brand and model name in one string.
In one single string. Yeah.
But I also don't expect that I'll be able to publish all of my data because, again, not all of it is intelligible or like it would have been just done for that one screenshot.
But why? But here's one question that I would ask you: why haven't you done dual channel measurements?
I do. I just don't publish it necessarily.
Yeah.
So,
why don't you? That's why I don't get.
So it's not because. So there's 2 reasons. One, and I also don't think that I will be publishing the dual channel measurements on when we do the database when that's up and running.
Yeah, why not though?
And the reason is because, in my opinion, if there's a significant channel imbalance enough where showing it would be interesting, that's a broken headphone, or there's a issue with it and there's a flaw with it, and so So the problem, as I see it, is what would you say is like a acceptable tolerance for channel imbalance, like less than 2 dB, right?
Less than 2 is around there. Over large enough, and then at some point, you have the rate differences, which we can all ignore.
Of course, yeah. Well, you have to normalize
up to 5,000 hertz, right? Up to 5,000 hertz, I think the limit would be 2 decibels. At any range, and then obviously good would be within 1, and perfect would be just under, within 1 basically.
Well, with headphones, it's also you're bound to get a little bit more because of positioning differences.
I think but I think for most of my measurements, a lot of you get a pretty wide, like most of it tends to be under 2.
Under 2, right? And then
but
above.
But in some cases, you get imbalances in weird places. Like, for example, at 500 hertz, get a weird null or something.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's good to show that.
So
to show that,
So I agree. And so, for example, a situation like the Sony WH-1000 XM4, where you have where it is asymmetrical, as well, like it's an actually asymmetrical headphone, that makes perfect sense as well.
No, no, I'm not talking about just with like literal structural differences
Yeah,
between left and right. I'm talking about just maybe to show how good a certain headphone's QC process is or how bad it is. So
right, but I mean, so in my opinion, if it's bad and if it's beyond 2, it's you know,
you should at least show it, right? Because it at least shows that, all right, you know, there might be problems with
I
like underlying problems.
I would show it if I was confident that this was representative of what people would be buying.
But you don't have to show that it's representative. You just have to show that I got this specific unit, and you might get something like this as well.
But
the idea is there to show that, all right, you know what, we might get a perfect sample. You know,
I suppose where we differ is that when I'm representing them, I'm not representing the QC, whereas I think you are.
I'm not necessarily representing QC. I'm more saying like it's more like an additional data point, if you will. If you're not willing to see it as a left-right channel on the same set, maybe it will be easier to see it as sample 1 and sample 2.
That would make more sense. Yes. So that I think is worth doing, and I see it more like that. Yeah, that's yes.
So at that point is again it shows that yes, it's even more important at that point to show left and right channel. So because
in a few, so I was going to say the other reason is I worry that when people see something like or more significant than honestly even if they see 2 dB, if you have scaling that kind of like if you have scaling like the way that we would have it typically. 2 dB can visually look like it's more significant than it would because when you listen to headphones that have like 2 dB, it's not a big deal. So I want to be able to show as much interesting information about the frequency response as I can, which means that I can't, you can't make it so that the whatever channel imbalance around 2 dB would be would look like it was within acceptable ranges. So that's the other reason why but I like the idea of sample 1, sample 2.
I've actually addressed this on my own graph tool, which means that so if you display a single headphone, it will show left and right. But if you add in more samples to compare, it averages all 6. That means the right 3, the left 3, and just averages out all of them into just one line. I think that's more elegant, isn't it?
Do you have any concerns about this goes back to a long conversation I had with Jude about showing symmetry with positional, like on our rigs with the setups that we have, you can get positional, you have to make sure the position is like very and if it's not, it's like you just have to keep going until you get as close as you can, right, to the other side.
I do a bit of that, but my indicator is more towards the bass frequencies, where I'm more concerned with seal.
Right. Okay. So
whereas in the higher frequency, it's more like I don't really care too much as long as I get the same seal and sort of the same response up to, let's say, 2 kilohertz.
Right.
Then anything after that, I don't care anymore.
So what was interesting about the conversation I had with Jude, I'm not sure if you had a similar conversation or if we talked about this, but his method is to basically show a low res FFT so that he can see what the frequency response would look like in real time. And then that's how he's good, because obviously he's got 2 sides.
Yeah, so that's what I did with my IEM measurements, because again, my IEM measurement uses fast Fourier transform. Yeah. So that's naturally something that I do already.
Yeah.
But for headphones,
I don't think that
Room EQ Wizard's FFT RTA kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does. But like you would get So with IEMs, I think it's way easier to show that stuff because you don't have the positional variance is less.
Yes.
Yeah. So I worry a little bit about if we're only doing.
I do something similar on Room EQ Wizard where I just set the I think it's called sample rate or something down to like the lowest one, which is 128 kilo 128K. Yeah. And then that just does a very fast burst of like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And I just use that and see that, all right, is that something? Okay, it's not. All right, do it again, do it again, do it again. And then when I get something that, again, matches all the way up to 2 kilohertz,
Yeah.
I'll be like, all right, now it's time to do the real measurements. And I set it all the way down to 1M.
That's a good way of
Yeah.
doing it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I actually I take the feedback on showing, you know, sample 1 and sample 2 for channel differences, because I think that's a really good way to do it, because then it avoids the issue of, you know, representing the data in such a way where people might
I wouldn't
assume,
necessarily
you know.
represent it as sample 1 and sample 2, but but
Well, it solves it for
way
me.
the way that I'm trying to convince you is that
because I do measure both sides. You know, it's not like, you know,
but the way I'm trying to convince you to publish it is to see it as sample 1 and sample 2, as opposed to left and right channel.
Yes.
Because if someone is not concerned about channel matching, someone should be concerned about unit variation.
That is another one that I think is important. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
and of course when you try and combine the two, that's where I disagree again. Where I don't feel like channel matching and unit variation should be on the same discussion. It should be slightly separate. Obviously, the methodology is about the same.
I think it gets really difficult with headphones because you might have perfectly matched drivers, but for whatever reason, like I'm just thinking of situations where the pads, like pads, really thick pads, have a pretty significant influence.
Which is why it's even more important to separate it as, all right, this is on one unit, and these two sets of measurements are on different units.
Yeah, but I mean, you know those fixtures that measure just drivers. You can I bet
those are like the free field free air, those are more for QC, right?
QC,
we don't require that as people who publish frequency response. We don't really care about that.
But
what we care about, like the moment you put on the pads and the housing and etc.
I still bet that in most cases you would have symmetry. You are more likely to get symmetry than not, and it's only because of these other additional variables, which
that is true. When you see my database for headphone measurements, I would say 75% of headphones have good channel matching, right? So but it's more to confirm than to show that, all right, something, because I don't think
for that reason as well, like the confirmation of like my measurement was supported by the fact that I had to do it twice with two different, you know,
and it also helps your own credibility when someone says like, all right, why is it that you only show dual channel measurements when
it's good?
Not necessarily when it's bad, right? And then it's like, all right, then what are you might be hiding something when you don't show it. Right. Whereas if you always publish it,
wouldn't it be
all right, so for example, let's say headphone,
if you only showed it when it was good.
No, it's more like the suspicion. So for example, for headphone A, you show that, all right, there's channel imbalance, and then you say for headphone B, there is no channel imbalance. Take my word for it.
No. In that situation, no, no. But
but because you don't do it, you only have the implication that there is good channel imbalance when you don't show it. So that's where the suspicion happens, right? It's the suspicion of you implicitly saying, "Take my word for it."
Yeah. So, and that's a problem. But for me, I still think that if I were in a situation, like if I were a customer buying a headphone, or just somebody buying a headphone, and I ended up with a channel imbalance that was audible, I'd send that thing back. I'd say, this is not, doesn't matter. It doesn't tell me anything unique about what the headphone's frequency response should be. If I have something, if I'm talking about channel imbalance, and I have to send it back because it's so bad that I can actually hear it. So to me, the more interesting thing about the measurement is not whether or not they got it perfectly accurate, as long as it's, as we said, within 2 dB, something like that, up to a certain point. It's more so, I actually think that the unit variation question is the more interesting one. Like, do we have significant differences, among the same model of different units? And in that instance, I do think that I don't know, like, because drivers are mostly matched, or at least they try and match them in many cases. I don't know if like how much that would actually reveal, if you're just to have left and right. But this is just a difference of what we're trying to show, I think.
Yeah.
But I have to say thanks to Marius, just a bit to influence my favorite sellouts. We're sellouts now.
Yeah. Give me your money.
And Buzz Earwave.
By dusk.
I think Buzz Earwave is Rob Hawk, so thank you. But yeah, I take your point about showing the channel balance, and I still think that what we're going to do for the database is we're just going to show the one, but I am going to measure both. I do measure both, and I'm gonna use both, but I like the idea of representing it as sample 1 and sample 2, but like not sample 1 and sample 2, but like just not have it be like overlaid directly necessarily, because I think
like
that
HD600L and HD600R.
yeah, like by default,
ratings,
by
right?
default, yeah, because you could like maybe there's a way to make it so that like you can select that and then it overlays it, but by default I want it to just show what I think the representative frequency response would be, because that's what I'm trying to find is like.
Well, here's the thing: what if both channels are just slightly different? Not enough to like trigger alarm bells or whether or not this is like channel matching univariate.
So personally, I'm very sensitive to channel. Like when I just listen, I'm very sensitive to channel balance. So like that's why for me, even if there's like a little bit noticeable, I can't listen to it. I have to, I'd say sorry. I need to get this replaced from the manufacturer, or whatever. So if there's a situation like that, which has happened actually, I actually do my best to just get another unit in and then say, okay, is this one representative?
Well, you get sent units directly from the manufacturer
sometimes,
whereas I just try it out in the store. So I just publish all the imbalanced units. I don't really care.
Do you think any of that would be from like if it's a demo unit that's been used a lot and like somebody, I don't know, like messed something up with it or something?
It might be, but in those cases, you can see it clearly being the case, right? For example,
I would almost think that they'd want to make it more like you'd want to have the freshest, best, like best examples on
probably,
display. But
beggars can't be choosers, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I wish I could. Or if companies wish that I could, send it to me. Don't need for me to rely on your old worn demo units, right? Just send your golden samples to me. not that I'm encouraging you to cherry pick units, of course, but
Yeah, I wonder actually how much of that happens, because
probably a lot.
Yeah, but it's hard to know, right? If you
then again, I also get a lot of weird QC issues with things that are supposed to be review units. So
yes, actually,
it's like a 50-50 when it comes to like cherry picked versus all right, we're just gonna grab something from the pile and hope it sticks.
The Empire Ears Odin demo that we got had a massive channel imbalance. Well, I say massive. It had a channel imbalance that progressively got worse over time. And so we were like, well, this is clearly like send it back, get it replaced. So I don't know, for me, with the channel balance thing, I do think it is important to show, especially in your situation, but if I have the opportunity to just get another unit, I'll do that. I'll just try and because I just think it's defective.
I know.
Because I guess me
being slightly indie, I'll just say like, nah, fuck it, just show it.
Name
and shame until they fix it, right? Or let's just because I'm a bit too ruthless.
You hold the feet to the fire more.
Yeah.
So it definitely has that effect, I think, and it's a good thing, like the stuff shouldn't be boxed up and sent out, if it has channel imbalance. So I agree.
The message that I'm sending out is that if it happens to me, it could happen to you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So which is why in a lot of cases I just they say, it's just an issue for you, and I'm like, no, the fact that it's an issue for me means it might be an issue for everyone else.
Yeah,
it's not just me at this point. You've just shown your cards, right? You've shown the fact that there's an issue in your QC process.
Yeah. The flip side of this to me is that I don't think that when something has good channel balance that it's at all meaningful. It's like that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. It's the passing grade, right?
Yeah,
you just left the starting line.
Yeah,
like congratulations, you've done the absolute bare minimum.
You can have like the most trash tier garbage frequency response, but have it be perfectly channel matched. And to me, it's like that's not interesting. It means you were able to achieve, something symmetrical.
Again, channel matching is just to show QC, right?
Yeah,
it's to show a consistency in their production process, which is extremely important because it's not just like the manufacturers sending out one headphone; they're sending out hundreds, potentially thousands.
Yeah.
So, if a failure rate at maybe 1 in 20 is 5%. That is a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it happens with many companies that this QC question is. I'd worry for people who aren't.
There was Tal Hurston's and the Utopia.
Yes.
That was a massive hoo-ha when it happened.
Yes.
And, is this like what's going on?
Actually, the Utopia that we have measures differently from yours.
Oh dear.
But the one that you measured.
Here's the thing. When it comes to, we've already established that Focal is extremely inconsistent with their pad manufacturing process.
I think it is the pads. I think it's
it is always pads. Yeah. It's always goddamn pads.
Yeah.
Focal, fix it.
Yeah. There was some, I wanted to ask about the it was probably last question, then we'll have to wrap it up because we've been going for like almost 2 hours now. The Audio QC
Monarch.
Yeah.
It is a problem. I've shown that it's a problem. It's
so it's not
you have
just
the bassy Monarch, and then you have the sub bassy Monarch, and then you have people complaining that I think the EST drivers kind of died at some point.
Yeah. Oh, that happened to our clairvoyance where the EST.
Yeah. So
died.
QC is a problem with Chi-Fi, and obviously Thea Audio is one of those companies. But the thing is, when it comes to QC problems, unless it happens to me, I can't really report on that too much as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be the one who just kind of relies on third party experiences and then just starts to raise hell, right?
Yeah.
I am willing to raise hell, but it has to be because I experienced it myself.
Well, I think you even noted it in your article on the
in a lot of cases I've noted QC issues, like for example the QKZ VK4, which is a $12 IEM, very good tonality if you win the lottery.
Yes.
Like the QC lottery, not like the actual lottery.
No, but actually, I think on the unit, the audio units that I received, the Clairvoyance and the Monarch, in both cases, I think they measured better than what yours showed. So I think we won the as much as it maybe who knows what was supposed to be representative there. I don't think.
Yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah, I don't think what we got
so when it comes to companies, that the one that I support the most are usually the companies who really nail their QC. Like for example, Moondrop. They really nail their QC. Like I've never seen a Moondrop IEM measure distinctly different from someone else's, unless it's like truly broken. At that point you can tell because there's literally channel imbalance. It's not like both units break the same way at the same time for both units, right? But yeah, when it comes to Moondrop, they nail their QC process, and
Sennheiser is also good.
Sennheiser is expected. They're the legends at this point. They have the long list. IE 900, they're the top of the line. It's expected of them at this point. But when it comes to Chi-Fi, that's where good QC suddenly becomes like oh my god, they're doing something much better than everyone else.
It's a surprising result.
Yeah. For Sennheiser, it's one of those things where if they're not nailing the QC, that's where the drama starts. But if Chi-Fi doesn't nail the QC, it's like it's expected. You paid $20 for this thing, right?
Yeah.
Like who cares about QC? It may be false equivalence. It may be just like double standards going on, but it is double standards on the basis of price.
Right.
You're not buying $20. You're not spending $20 on a Sennheiser IEM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good. And actually, that raises the question of if, say, North American brands, or not like Sennheiser's obviously European brand, but you know, if non-Chi-Fi brands would, release IEMs of similar acoustic performance, would they be priced? Like, how much higher would they be priced?
Where are they built? Because if it's just a China OEM, it might be
Yeah.
about the
Actually,
same price.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But if it's like built in house in America, and you have to pay Americans their fair wages, and you have to buy from American companies,
Yeah.
probably 10 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably gonna be a decade of multiplication.
Yeah, but I mean, I do. It's an amazing thing to see how many amazing IEMs, like amazing sounding IEMs, have come out of the Chi-Fi world. And if you contrast that with,
I'm trying to push. I'm trying to push a lot of the Chi-Fi brands that I know into the headphone space, because I want the same thing to happen to the headphone world as well.
So
yeah,
far,
I want the moon drop of headphones to come out.
Well,
but
they are making.
nothing.
Are they? I think they are.
They are, but it's like an E-stat, and it's probably going to be
Something.
very expensive again.
Yeah.
I want, like, the HD 600, but Chi-Fi,
Yeah.
and it's going to be like $50. I'm hoping, maybe in like 5 years.
I so far I was going to say that hasn't really.
It hasn't. No, it hasn't. Like, all of the Chi-Fi headphones that I've heard so far, from like Sandy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you did a
Sivka
measure. That's also Sandy. You did a measurement of the Peacock. Did you listen to it?
Yes. I think just laughing is the perfect response.
I'm not sure if I told you, DMS is. I'm not sure if he made a video on it or if he's going to.
Oh yeah, he messaged me as well, but he noted like QC concerns, and I told him no, mine measures more like yours.
Yeah, ours measures the same, but his description was that it sounded like Muddy Slugs playing on tin cans, and I thought that is
not wrong.
Not wrong. But I expect that we'll probably see a whole bunch of folks saying it's the greatest thing ever, and it's made out of wood and all this stuff. Just goes to show it's difficult to. Well, you got to know who to pay attention to, I think. Yeah. Okay. So I had one other question for you. I should probably cut it there. When are we going to see the Fight Me video?
After my next video, which is because my next video, I've already filmed it. It's just me unboxing Chi-Fi, because I get a lot of Chi-Fi. And I have I have two backlogs. One is the backlog for reviews, and the other one is the backlog for unboxings, which means that I just have this stack of like Chi-Fi IEMs that I haven't touched yet. Yeah, I unboxed it on camera and give my first impressions raw, and hopefully that'll be an entertaining video. But after that, it would be the spicy one. Okay,
yeah. I mean, it's always fun to do first impressions of stuff, especially if you have no expectations going in. If you're just like,
in this round of unboxings, I had an IEM that didn't even come with a cable.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I was searching for it. I was like, wait, what? Where's the cable?
Was it like intentionally not with the cable, or just like
it just didn't have a cable? I was searching around. I was like, is it in the case? Nope, the case is empty. Is it in like one of those boxes? Nope, everything is empty. So they had a divot for the cable where you wound it around and everything.
They just
and it's empty.
Maybe they are believers in. Or maybe they're believers that cables don't.
Maybe it's a true wireless IEM, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just have to concentrate harder with them in your ears, and then eventually you'll hear the music. But yeah, so I think that's. I mean, it's basically we should probably cut it there.
Have we actually we didn't answer a lot of questions.
Right? I don't know if we want to maybe jump in and answer a few.
I don't mind, honestly. Like, it may be late, but I'm wide awake.
Yeah, because you had decaf. That's right.
Yes, the decaf helps me. I'll stay awake.
Yeah. What do you think of the Tone 2 Pro? Is it built? Is it just
That's
the
you.
built-in amp? Yeah. It's awful.
Oh
Yeah, and
no.
it's the amp portion that's awful. The DAC, I'm sure, is totally fine. And the SMSL SU9 sounds the same as the Sonko's LAQXD1 and the EX5 for the DAC. They're all good sounding. That's that's the answer to that. Um, there's a lot of discussion in here about.
Knobs. I remember seeing a wall of text on knobs.
I
Like
think that
one of
was
the
Android
best feeling knobs.
knob feel. Yeah, I want.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to get that shit Lokius in. I want to try that thing out because that would solve. I mean, people don't do EQ because they don't like messing with software. But like, if you had knobs,
Yeah,
you'd be
but
able to.
yeah, it sounds like, and I'm saying this as a joke. No one takes me seriously. It sounds like EQ for stupid people.
Yeah. I mean, but I think a lot of
You
it
have
is.
four knobs, and people see like, oh, there's a 10 band EQ with like Q factors, and we're like, all right, you know what? Here's four knobs.
Oh, but they're like legitimately people. They don't like. Either they have a Mac or they don't like using software and
Yeah,
getting
I'm
into
just joking, but it's one
you
of those
know.
things where it's you're paying more, you're paying a price because EQ is free,
It's free.
but
Yeah.
now you're paying a
Yeah.
price for less functionality.
Yep. Yep. No,
Yep.
I totally agree, but there's an element of I see it a little differently. I see it. You're paying a price for parsimony. You're paying a
Mm.
price for not having to bother to learn how to do things.
You're paying a price for inconvenience.
Yes. Well, technically, yeah. But
That, that
well,
that's the audiophile motto.
yeah.
Pay us to make your
Yeah.
life harder.
But that counts. I like. I don't know.
Yeah.
For people who would never otherwise do it, I think why not? Plus knob feel.
I wouldn't mind if they have one knob for like Q factor.
Actually, that was what I was chatting with Blaine about this. It would be really cool if you could, so like you could have your row of filters, and then as a function, like a general function, you could have your Q knob. So like for each one, you could individually dial in what the Q is.
But
I think that would be.
I think that's the limit of where we should stop. Like four knobs for dB
Yeah,
and four knobs for Q factor, and I think we should stop from there because anything more than that would
you'll
just
go to
be like
yeah.
yeah
You'll mess it up.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean you have to be careful with
Yeah,
that
because Skelligero said what I was thinking is that guitar pedals do have Q factor knobs as well,
Oh, yeah, that's a
which
good
is why
point.
I suggested it as well.
Yeah, but I think it would be great. Let's see. Take the knob off your topping A90. It was pressure applied at the factory. You will destroy your amp and circuit board. This is the crap design that topping does all the time. I don't know. I haven't taken that apart. I don't like taking apart amplifiers. I don't like taking apart headphones either. Well, I have a broken planar over there that I took it apart, took the driver apart, and like as I was just barely taking it apart, the magnets like crushed it, like it snapped in on itself and snapped
Ugh.
through the diaphragm, like just completely. So now I have a brick of magnets that are just permanently stuck together. It's completely busted through the trace. So no, don't take apart planars. That's what else? Let's see, guys. Questions for Crin. And if you asked a question earlier and we missed it, just ask it again.
Yeah, ask it now. Now is
Now
the
is the
Q&A
time.
session. We have finished our ramblings and talking about things that no one likes to listen to.
Yeah. Best remote.
I
Actually,
have an AC remote here.
actually, yeah. No, I've seen those that remote that comes with a lot of stuff that's come with remotes these days. Like the EX5 has one, SU9 has one, I think. Oh wait, maybe not. Yeah, a lot of what I noticed is that the ones, none of the decks I have right now have them, so I can't actually grab the remote. But like there seems to be like a trend for both remotes and Bluetooth in DACs and DAC amp combos. So I'm for it. I would never use it that way though. That's just like I don't know. Would you ever sit I suppose people who are like using it like as part of their like home,
Yeah,
theater
it's more
system.
for the home theater crowd
Yeah.
or someone who's using it for like
But
their TV.
one of the weird things though that I found is on one of the units that I had, there was a function that was locked to the remote, and there was no other way to do it on the device. So
Hmm.
I thought that's kind of dumb. But
Mhm.
we got measure betas taking, well, I can't, taking apart betas. What? Oh, I guess taking apart equipment. When is the next IEM collab?
I don't have any hard prospects because I've scared off a lot of the early people who came to me after the dusk happened and be like, hey, let's collaborate. And I'll be like, all right, let's collaborate. And then they found out how demanding that I am.
Oh, as
So
far
so
as
they
your requirements.
as far as my requirements for slapping my name onto an IEM because I don't want to slap my name on some random I can probably name it random chai file. Probably people won't even understand. But yeah, it's no prospects now, no prospective
What?
takers at this point, or there are. It's just that they have kind of limited me to 2022 and beyond
Right.
due to production concerns.
So we can expect in 2022, the Crinacle X Sennheiser HD 900.
Maybe. Crinacle X Odyssey, Crinacle X Hifiman, Crinacle X Bravo.
Crinacle X Abyss. Let's get that going.
I would happily tune their headphones for them.
See, I would love to see if I think to myself, who would be the most fun. We talked about this before, I think. But for me, it is like Dunu and Odyssey. I think that would be just a ton of fun. People who are not big companies, but like they're
Smallish.
Yeah, small-ish, and like they're very much like connected with community and stuff like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Critical X Sony, someone says.
I wish Sony would notice me. I know the guy who made the Z1R knows of my existence, but that's about as far as I know of their acknowledgement of me.
That's still something. I mean, I think your stuff was.
I'm pretty sure I've sold more Z1Rs than I can count.
Yeah, I think your stuff was referenced in a Linus video at one point, so I think there's a lot of people who are aware. Suddenly,
the AirPods Max, because the AirPods Max was I was the first one on the scene with a frequency response graph.
Yeah.
They had no one else. I was their last option.
Yeah. R70X, Crin's opinion.
I like it. I genuinely believe that it's an alternative to the HD600. Obviously, Andrew doesn't agree with me.
I agree with Metal's take, actually, a little more.
Yeah, agree with what?
Metal 571's.
I'm
sure if you saw it.
But I don't. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that the R70X is better than the HD600, but I don't think it's necessarily worse. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I think it's better at some things and worse at others. That's kind of how I.
Yeah.
So I think that like the middle ground, like that sort of nuanced middle ground, I think is. Somebody even said it in the comments on the review where, they said it seemed like the things that you noticed about it were more like we noticed similar things, but the things that I valued were different from the things that you valued, so that it's not totally incongruent.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is phase measuring important?
Group delay.
We're talking IEMs or headphones?
There is access group delay, which I assume is also part of your phase measurements, unless you're talking about like electrical phase. Yeah, but I think most people would attribute like phase to probably group delay, maybe. And in most cases, access group delay is not going to be relevant because all of them are going to be pretty much measured perfect, right?
Yeah.
But in general, nah, it's not really. No.
What headphones?
In headphones.
Speakers, it would be, you know.
Speakers for sure, because you have literally like bouncing reflections that result in mistiming, so to speak.
Yeah.
But in headphones, it's literally just blasting everything to your ears. So the access group delay is 0 because there's no access.
Maybe in RAL SR1A or MySphere or I don't know.
But it's not bouncing. It's still being blasted to you unless you're listening so loud to the point where the RAL sound is bouncing off to the walls.
That's what I was thinking.
And coming back to you.
Well, when I was listening, I mean, my wall's really close, you know, and I almost felt like there was like an element of that, but it could have just been psychoacoustic effect, or like the sound from one was like coming in from behind my head to the other side. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what were your thoughts on the RAL?
The bass is
non-existent. Yeah.
Despite measuring like it has, probably because of the high distortion or something like that. But yeah, the distortion is not like 5%; it's 70%. Yeah. So at that point, it's not even audible. Like I said, it's not audible because I can't even hear the bass for some reason.
Yeah.
But in terms of everything else, sure, it's fine. It's just that I didn't feel like, if it felt like someone was trying to do the K1000 and HD100 at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm not gushing over it like other people are.
All of those ribbon driver headphones have pretty high THD. It's just like a feature.
I mean, it's not meant to be a woofer. That's what people.
Yeah, it's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, Gold Planar GL2000 double-sided, worth buying.
No.
Sanity has prevailed.
Well, if you bring Zeus over, he'll say something different. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I've come to the realization that the stuff that, like, he specifically doesn't like stuff that is tuned well, because it doesn't have character of some kind, and he only likes things that have coloration. So. Well,
I mean, who are we to say what is tuned well? We are not an authority.
Sure we are. If there is an authority, it's people like us. I mean, people who've actually heard, like, you know, whatever the wide range of stuff. Right? You've heard.
Who are we to say that the HD600 has good tuning? Who are we to say that something like the HE1 has good tuning, right?
Yeah. No, okay, so the answer is yes, to the GL2000. Yeah, it's worth buying. Yeah. Someone's gonna clip that. You're like, see, he changed his mind. I actually did mod that headphone. It's sitting over there.
The GL2000. I mean, if it's still with me. I just don't. I don't have any ideas for what mods to do on it.
No, there was a thread on one of the forums, and someone basically took the driver out and then took the foam out the back. There are two pieces of paper, acoustic paper. You just take them out. They're right in front of me, actually. Oh, they were.
Oh.
Somewhere. If I can find them. They are in this pile of stuff or underneath it somewhere. Nope, I can't find it. Oh. I feel like it should be here somewhere, but okay, doesn't matter. But yeah, I took those two pieces out, and it like boosted the treble like crazy. For some reason, and so that definitely still needed EQ, but it did sound like more, like it had more detail, but maybe just because of, you know,
the boosted treble.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A lot of the questions about people saying you can't measure resolution. The way I always phrased this is like, or framed it, was like, resolution is like resolution. If you think about like a TV or like a display, right? You can actually like see what the resolution is there, right? But something like detail and nuance and stuff like that, like when we talk about like the technicalities, that's like the sharpness of the lens of a camera, you know, micro contrast and all that stuff. And so something like resolution, I mean, I know it gets used in all kinds of different ways, but the way I've always seen it is like, if you think about like a headphone's frequency response, technically that is something that would have, you know, quote unquote resolution, because you can see, okay, this is able to reproduce, you know, literally the entire range of human hearing. That's technically all that you need to satisfy the resolution aspect. Whereas if it like significantly drops off, you know, before or after or whatever, then you wouldn't. So to me, I've defined resolution more in as like the frequency response related elements to clarity, whereas detail and all that stuff I kind of see as more the sharpness of the lens and micro contrast and that type of stuff. But I don't know. Can you measure resolution? What do you think?
My probably naive take on resolution is that we haven't got it now, but we might in the future.
Do you think it's in
Yeah.
frequency response? Because I
It's one of those cases where I feel like the example that I would give is the drop panda because it's with me right now. I cannot EQ detail into the panda, no
no.
matter how much I try. I have EQ'd the panda to measure exactly like my HD800 with the SDR mod, and no, it does not sound the same.
So I'm trying to get the our panda back from max settings who has it right now,
Hmm.
so that I can do a recording of that and recording of that EQ to the same target as either an HE6 or I have a D8000 Pro or something that's
Hmm.
better, right? And
Hopefully the microphone picks it up, huh?
that's I mean that's my hope, but like if I can do a recording of that and capture with it all EQ'd exactly the same, to reveal the differences in, because it is extremely blunted as you've put in your
Hmm. Yes.
um, so I think you know I mean the interesting thing to me wouldn't be what I think of this, but if I can take those recordings and then send them to people and see what their reactions are, I think that would be kind of interesting.
Hmm.
um, there was another question that I wanted your take on, but I've lost it. Do you see anything? Oh, I see Wheezy
My take
Tech.
on what?
Oh yes, have you heard the HER10 yet, or the R10P?
I think there might be a demo unit, but I haven't visited that specific shop in quite a while. So no, not yet, but hopefully soon if they have the demo unit. If Hifiman hasn't sent their distributors demo units, then shit out of luck. I'm sorry.
Yeah, have you seen my measurements of it?
Yeah, it's cursed.
Yeah.
So, but
Well,
yeah, so
but
unfortunately, I have been influenced by the monster that is measurements. So clearly, my opinions should be discarded from here.
but I also don't know if that was representative because that was just one unit. So that's that same problem of, like, to
Yeah,
me it was like,
maybe I get a unicorn unit that measures exactly like a Sesfara, right?
well, yeah, exactly. But that one was not okay. Although I guess HER10, I don't know
I,
what the
I
dynamics are
find
going
it
on.
funny when manufacturers kind of hand wave away specific impressions, negative impressions from reviewers by saying that it might not be the representative unit, by
Well,
implying that they have significant unit variation issues.
so with the HER10P in my case, yes, no, that is funny actually, because that's almost worse. Um,
Yes, it is.
but in my case, it was supposed to be, I think, the start of the Canadian tour, and I
Mhm.
thought it was so bad that the tuning was so bad that there's no way that this could leave, like that this could pass anybody's, like, oh, this is okay, we can release this, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's why, the Hi-Fi headphones that I had, not having heard all of the Hi-Fi headphones, the ones that I had
Mhm.
heard all had a general similarity to them, and so I thought to myself, there's no way the people who think that these are good also think this thing is good. It's just not. There's no way that that's possible. Of course,
Yeah.
knowing now a little bit more, it's entirely possible. Uh, so I don't know what the story is there. I don't know what the full,
Yeah.
because you just one unit. But it is funny, as you pointed out, that now our QC is bad, so it's not
Yeah. Oh, you could get one of these, or you could get a really, really good one and
yeah, yeah,
play the lottery, right?
yeah, exactly, yeah. Let's see. Okay, let's do one other question here for Crin, guys. One other question.
Mm.
Let's pick a good one. I mean, actually, all of your guys' questions are good, of course. But
Wow. Pandering to your audience.
oh, We need, yeah. So what's this? Can we get it?
Crinax Resolve
Yeah.
X Metal. We did that at one point, really,
Yeah.
really early on. I think it was the first time that I actually went on the headphones.com podcast.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
should actually upload these to the podcast software. I haven't done that in a while. Yeah, actually, I mean, I want to get. I'd love to get Sean Olive on, and he did agree
Ooh,
to join at some point.
that'll be a spicy
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, but
Bring the subjectivists in as well. Don't just make it
right. That has to be. I have to get like Brent
yeah,
Butterworth.
don't bring in like measure betas. Okay, I want to be part of that video. Let me make it clear. I want to be part of the video as well.
I have to. I have to get the
Don't
people.
just
who measure
bring
stuff.
in like Mad Economist and Chocomel and maybe Metal. No, bring in the spicy people that will probably make Sean Olive have an aneurysm.
I want to get Sean Olive and Jude on a, but that won't happen, unfortunately.
But I'm pretty sure Jude has a semi-objectivist stance on things now, at least
Oh yeah.
in private.
Yeah.
Maybe in public, in public he's the kind of the mascot of Headfi. He can't say things like
No, yeah. But
things that we say.
Yeah. But it would be funny to have. Plus, there's always going to be some vitriol there to deal with. But it would be fun to have.
Okay, don't bring someone who hates Sean Olive. Bring someone who doesn't think that measurements make too much of a difference, right?
I was going to say
there's a difference.
No, well, I mean, so I initially thought I could get Olive from Olive's Gadgets, so we could have the Olive versus Olive Thunderdome. That would be.
Doesn't Olive? I would consider Olive somewhat objectivist.
Well, he is, but he also
It's
doesn't
just
like
that
Sean
his
Olive.
objectivist towards the HD 600.
He
believes that the HD 600 to him is like the Harman target, right?
Yeah. But he's been very critical of, well, not critical, but basically he's been antagonistic towards Sean Olive about his target. So
I haven't watched a lot of his videos, so I don't know that beef between the olives.
Yeah, but the fact that there is beef between the olives, I think, is already hilarious. So we gotta have the olive off. But other than that, it would be fun to have. This would never happen, but Amir and Jude.
No. That's not a good idea.
Never happen.
It's like saying Marv and Jude, right? At the same time.
Or Amir and Marv. We could have.
Let's make it a three-way. Amir, Marv, and Jude.
Yes. Okay. That's a room that I don't want to be in.
No, it's something I would spectate but not be in.
Yeah, exactly. I would not want to moderate that. It's so funny that we have. I mean, this is actually something that I had originally made one of those like walking outside videos on. I think it was the one where I did that like $800 IEM review, and I only really used the part of it where I was talking about the IEMs because, the main reason that I didn't use any of the rest of it was because I was going up a hill and the GoPro angle was weird, so I was like, I can't use that. But the point of that video was supposed to be that it's weird that there are all these different information silos with there's like the SBAF silo, there's the HeadPhi silo, there's that's I guess less of a silo, but then there's the ASR silo, there's the Crin Discord folks, there's who do you trust? There's the Olive Gadgets folks, and I'm sure you'd probably agree with this, but like I kind of think that like it's probably bad to just focus on one person's take, because
of course, of course.
but it feels like that, because it gets to what we talked about before. It's the audio simping, right? Where you're thinking about it critically, but you're just saying, okay, this person says X, therefore X,
It's hard to. Okay, so when it comes to subjective takes, right? Obviously, it's much more, I would say, easy to swallow because someone says that I like this, and I say, hey, I like that as well. We agree.
Yeah.
But when it comes to factual, objective things, like for example, when Amir says that pads don't make a difference on FR, and when people parrot that, that's where things start to be like you can't turn that into an opinion because it's not an opinion.
Yeah,
It's provable, it's measurable, it's whatever. It's literally in the name, audio, audio science review. Yeah, that's science. Yeah.
it's a little
So
bit ironic, but yeah.
at that point, the simping part is gonna be how do I put it? Less forgivable.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
If you say Zeus liked it and therefore I might like it, I'll consider that fair play.
Yeah.
Or I trust this guy when he says that this headphone is good and therefore I buy it. It's more palatable.
Yeah.
But when someone says fact
Yeah.
and then he spews out a thing that is clearly not a fact and not opinion, and that's where things start to be a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's there are also like I see a lot of like jumping to conclusions in places as well because of in that case, of course, it's like a measurement shows a thing, therefore like the Ananda thing at the sub base, I think your take on that was actually the most lucid because it was like, or the most sober because it I mean, you pointed out correctly that like what was missing in the measurement was like just the very last little ultra low end stuff, which didn't have very much information there anyways. So like
I was criticizing the methodology because at the end of the day, the results themselves are fine. At least like if you ignore the seal issues.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact that there is seal issues mean that there is something to address in the protocol.
Yes.
In the SOP.
Yeah.
So. I don't know. With measurement stuff, it feels like people should be more receptive of if someone points out a shortcoming and says like, "Hey, this is something you can do better."
You should.
Feels like it's much easier to just do better.
Yeah, rather than defending the wrong measurement.
But as we have seen, it feels like the defensive plays, so to speak.
Yes.
Come on a lot stronger in the measurement space for some reason. I don't know why.
But I mean, even it's like it is easier to like as you're saying, like like if you've been shown something that demonstrates that the thing that you thought was wrong, why not just change your opinion? Like I'm thinking of there's so many things that I don't believe anymore that I used to, like even something as simple as like the CSD question, right? Those used to be quite compelling, and now after learning more about it, it's like, oh, okay, no, like that's not.
Yeah, I've had arguments on CSD where again it's the whole thing on it's intuitive.
Yeah,
it makes sense when you look at it. Like, CSD looks like decay. It looks pretty. There's the whole waterfall thing going on. It's like, I hear it. The quick decay, the whatever is going on. When in actual fact is that you can modify CSD just by changing a few parameters here and there to literally make any CSD look like what you want it to look like.
Yeah.
It's and again, like changing placements as well, of course, modifies CSD. So again, just because you got one CSD measurement doesn't mean you're going to consistently get the same CSD measurement over and over and over again. Over and over again. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so like, I mean, just getting back to the audio simping thing, I was going to say like, even among people like you and I and Metal and Precog and I, we have different we like different things. Like you and I disagree about the R70X. I think Metal and I disagree about something. I can't remember what it is. But Precog loves the S8, and I think the tuning of that is just way too shouty. So like even among let's say those of us who are like very much into this, and we look at measurements, and we're conducting measurements. Even for us, there's disagreement or different differences of opinion. And so to me, it just seems crazy that like a person would just attach themselves to one person's take, unless they had like a long history of like
I mean, as someone who has gone into smaller hobbies, not like deep. For example, mechanical keyboards, right? I got a GMMK with KO box wise based off the recommendation of someone that I thought was reliable.
Yeah.
And then immediately someone else, not immediately, like maybe like a few months later, someone else told me, hey, the GMMK is actually a pretty bad board. And the KO box wise, it should have gone with some other clicky. Yeah. And I just listened to them like, yeah, but I don't really care.
Well, okay.
I like yeah, like I am not a keyboard enthusiast, so I don't share the same amount of passion with keyboards as I do with headphones. Well, now, with headphones, yes, I would
Yeah,
gladly take you up on that on a similar debate, right? Like
yeah.
let's say you say, hey, the LCD4 is better than the Zasbara, and then I'll be like, all right, time to bring out the big guns. But when it comes to something like keyboards, uh, I don't
Also,
care.
I don't think there's something equivalent to like target curves for keyboards or anything like that. Or even
Mhm.
just like I don't know. That's stuff that I'm getting more and more into it, but like I find that like, but people are okay with like 65 gram actuation switches. I am not.
Mhm.
Like it's like that's way
It's
too stiff.
heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
way too stiff
it's
for
way
me.
too heavy now.
So
Which is why I got the lightest one.
yeah,
Box whites are the lightest
yeah.
ones. Helps me type nice. And I game on it as well. Yes, I game on clickies. Sue me.
I do. Well, I don't really game anymore,
Hmm?
unfortunately. I
Oh.
haven't had time, but
I'm trying to go back into Red Dead Redemption 2 because I haven't completed
I
the
keep
campaign
trying to
on
go
that.
back to it as well, and I also haven't, and I
Yeah.
lose interest. Yeah,
Yeah. It seems a bit overwhelming,
it
right? The
does.
amount of
Yeah,
choices that you have in
yeah,
such a game.
exactly. Okay,
Target goes for sound key presses.
that would be a thing. That's definitely, yeah. I
I
should.
suggested that to one of my keyboard enthusiast friends.
Oh, I should do
Like
a review of a
like
keyboard and use the
acoustic
graphs.
grass, but
Yeah,
for yeah.
I love it. Oh man, we should do that. That's
No,
awesome.
it's yeah. So VSG says that there's sound recordings for keyboards. No, what I'm saying is not sound recordings. I'm saying
Target,
graphs.
yeah, graphs. Let's
Graphs.
measure it. That's a little bit hilarious because it's like it's so much more confusing. It just deliberately do
I
it.
mean, I suggested it to him. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna do it.
No, I'd want to do it like just as a meme almost, but that's about it.
Probably, yeah. April Fools. You
Yeah.
have seen all of my previous April Fools. I am a high effort shit poster. I'll probably do it one day.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta step up our April Fool's game. The only one we had was the Canadian revision of the Sundara, which was a base shelf that was like way up. Uh, People who read the Harman research know why that's funny. Uh, but last question here. Crin's take on stacks.
Okay. I appreciate stacks in terms of resolution, and their soundstage can be on par with the HD 800. It's just that their tuning sucks. And here's the thing: when it comes to the newer stacks, it's an even bigger problem at least when it comes to the newer lambdas, right? The 500 and the L500 and L700, the tonality is just out of whack.
Yeah.
The old lambdas maybe you would probably have a better case for their tuning, but it's still not great. There's still this EStat. I call it the EStat honk, where you have this like 1.5K increase, and just makes things sound a little bit. Is it
Boxy.
boxy?
Yep.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's just like weird and almost nasally at some points.
Yeah.
So when it comes to my own take on sax, right, because I do the whole tonality technicality
Yeah.
split.
Dirty
They
fence sitter.
fulfill one, but they fail, not fail, like they are just inadequate in the other. There is that disconnect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stacks good. If all you care about is imaging, detailing, and perhaps clarity. But the moment you go into tuning, which again, I feel like tuning is kind of a like like the starting point, you know.
Yeah.
You have to pass tuning in order to be considered for technicality. But I don't do that. But in my mind, I do that
Right. Right.
for my own purchasing decisions. So
Right.
when it comes to stacks, it's like, all right, the tuning sucks, and so I'm not even going to think about it. I still analyze it, of course, but when it comes to my own like personal preferences, just because the tuning is bad, I don't care about it anymore.
Yeah. Someone's asking about the carbon, but I don't have you haven't had a chance to.
Carbon. I wish Odyssey can notice me. Give me a carbon. But
Yeah.
I know they have production issues, so I don't hold it against them for not sending like
Yeah. Yeah.
that specific headphone. Uh, there should be a demo unit that would come in 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now to the one of the stores that I frequent. So at that point, hopefully, I'll be able to measure and test it.
Yeah, I think they're
But
sending one over.
I won't have early access to it, so
Yeah.
don't hold your breath. I'm not HeadPhi.
Yeah, I think they're sending one over to us. Or should be soon. So maybe we'll get one. Maybe we'll get one around
Oh.
the same time.
Wait, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Well, actually, probably a little earlier because it's a little quicker to send stuff to us. So. Yeah.
This is why I should go to America more often.
I was gonna
at
say
all.
I want to go to. I'm gonna go to Singapore, and then we're gonna go and do food reviews.
Ah,
'Cause-
and Singapore has a lot of Western food as well. So if
Yeah, but
if your taste buds aren't up to the task of Asian food, there
it
might
is.
be another.
They are. Yeah. I want to go check out all the hawker stands and all that stuff that I hear
Oh,
about.
yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, we're gonna end it there, guys. Thanks to Crin, of course, for being a special guest and testing. out his
Thanks for
webcam.
being my guinea pig because again, this is just to test out the
Yeah.
camera setup.
Yeah.
I've not tried this before at all.
Looks good. Yeah.
Just need to fix that 20 FPS. Is it really 20 FPS?
It's lower, but I'm at 30, so you could be you're at 24, and that might be what's causing the issue.
Ah, okay.
So yeah.
Okay. I'll try and fix that.
Yeah. Sounds good. Alrighty, guys. We'll see you guys in the next one.
See you, boys. Go to my YouTube channel.
And subscribe. All right.